night and the Gemini crew.
Ooh!
Ooh!
With Mike in the night.
Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just
Talk about the world. Give this page another curl.
'Cause you're
Here with us tonight. Everything's alright when you're here with Mike in the night.
Mike it through the night, you're here
With Mike in the night.
Giving the world light when you're here
With Mike in the night.
Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike
In the night. Sometimes things are just absurd, so let's just talk about the world.
'Cause you're here with us too.
Oh, you're here tonight. Oh, don't you know it?
Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike
In the night.
Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just talk about the world. Give this page another curl. 'Cause you're here with us tonight.
I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night wherever you may be watching this transmission. I want to thank you all for joining me on tonight on Mike in the Night. And I'll be your host tonight, Mike Martins. And people of the night, welcome to Mike in the Night. Should have said it that way, but that's okay. Broadcasting here from Sector 16. I am currently right now in Sector 16. So wherever you're watching us, if you're in your condo in the sky, or your cabin in the woods, or your camper in the woods, or your cabin in the woods, I mean, yeah, I guess you could go like that. Or you're couch surfing on some friend's couch, or you're bugging out somewhere in an undisclosed location. Sit back, relax, get some tea or coffee, because you're tuned in to Mike in the Night. Thanks for joining us, guys, tonight. We have try to put a really good show together for you guys tonight, and hopefully I don't end up losing the stream, because our friends over in the, hopefully somebody's asleep at the controls tonight so we can have our stream in peace, if we want to put it that way. A couple of articles floating around right now about Facebook, YouTube, Google. I mean, everything is going to be on the hook for comments. So they're looking right now at actually... Because I'll explain to you what happens, what's going on here. And I have a hunch, I think I know what it is. When I go and watch live streams from Canada, live streams, not this is from Canada, right? This live stream isn't the live stream that I'm not saying like my live stream. But when you're watching live streams from the government of Canada, I notice one specific thing. I don't know if you noticed it too. But the comments are always disabled to allow people the freedom of assembly. And I noticed that a lot in Canada. When you're watching Canadian Parliament or anything Canadian related, or the Canadian, especially when the Prime Minister wants to have a few words with its country members or its citizens, for some reason, the comments are disabled. Now, what's happening is they're actually throwing something around right now, and it's in the news. It's like from a day ago, and 2 days back, and 3 days back. And this ain't no flash in the pan. They think it might be not in their best interest to start banning channels, but it might be in their best interest to stop people from commenting. And this show, Mike in the Night, is freedom of assembly. We're just free here to talk. What's going on? You want to call in? You got a problem? Yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Broadcasting from Sector 16. Mike in the Night. All right, let's go over a quick channel plug before we kick off tonight's show. And big hug to everybody out there that came out tonight. And let's get to a quick plug here. Channel plug. So people are coming on saying they're not getting notifications. So guys, this, like I said, this is like an Archie Bunker or MacGyver sitcom or Alf. You know what time it's on, and then I'll be here, guys. Like, unless somebody comes and takes me away in the night, but I will be here for you guys every time that I have it scheduled. So just, if you don't get the reminder, try your best, guys, to be here. Okay, so let's go do a quick channel plug before I head off to the comments here real quick. So let's go to article scan, please. Thank you so much. So here it is, guys. Try and set your reminders here. You're watching Borealis comes in. Aurora Borealis is coming into view right now. Don't forget, Can't Read Market Talk is back on in the mornings. We have a Monday show. We discuss stocks. I write them down. I have them written down here. And I actually buy stocks, and we see how they go through the week. I'm actually going to set up my personal portfolio here on Yahoo. And the stocks that you guys recommend and stuff, I'll actually buy them, and like we can watch them here. And then on Friday here, you see Friday, we have one Monday and one Friday, and we do a market cleanup. We clean up the markets on Friday and in the mornings and see how we did for Monday. So it's a kind of like a two morning shows. And then trends in the housing market. Don't forget to set your reminders for that. And here are some back videos of Mike in the Night. Unfortunately, the Mike in the Night went from 3,800 to 2,300, 2,100, 1,500, and 1,200. It's slowly falling off the radar. And same thing with trends in the housing market. It went from like 3,000 views, 1.6, 1.4, 900 views. So it's scaling itself back. And that's out of my control, guys. So if you guys, again, don't mind setting reminders and just remember that I'm here, right? Guys, don't forget to buy something on Teespring. I want to thank some of the people that have bought stuff on Teespring in the last week. I've been making some really good sales, and it helps out the channel. I'm going to give you guys my YouTube in the comments there. If you guys want to go ahead and want to send me a message on YouTube, and you could follow me on Instagram and message me on there. Go ahead and do that too, guys. Don't forget, if you want to. And go ahead and add me on Skype, Mike Martins 1980. So you're tuned in to Mike in the Night. So I got someone commenting. Let's get to some comments here. We got Anthony Ruvalacaba agreed. Mike should be at 1 million subs. Those Mike Martins coffee mugs are vintage. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Anthony, because you're in the comments, I want to let you know that Stefan came to see me from Richmond today. He came to the store, and we sat down today and had a coffee. He's called into the show twice, and he's come to see me in person. So he drove all the way up from Richmond to come and see me and talk a bit, and we had a coffee. We played a board game together, actually. So, yeah. Looks like no NHL or NBA happening anytime soon. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that. They're just throwing money out the window. Big Rob New Zealand says it's comments that make it proactive. Without it, it's just TV. Yeah, I know. It's comments. It's comments that make things proactive, right? Big Rob New Zealand is right 100 quadrillion% on the ball. I think what they're going to want to do is I think they want every creator to go into the back end of the channel. I think they want every creator to go to the back end of their channel. And you're allowed to censor words that are not allowed in chats, right? So sometimes I censor the F word, like words like that I don't want coming up on my stream anyway. So what happened is, I think they're going to give us a set of 496 words that are not allowed to be said. So if they do that, I'm going to have to cut them and paste them into the word censored area on the back end of my live stream. So they're going to want to block a lot of words. I think hill dog is one of them words. Could be very sure that hill dog is not allowed to say. Arguably the most powerful woman on the planet lost the election in 2016 and punished social media around the world. we got destroyed. The most powerful woman, that is the most powerful person in the world. Right there. Someone who could lose an election and then go ahead and censor, shut down, and completely destroy the country. I don't know what more I could say. You know what I'm saying? David Xavier saying it's about community. That's right. We're not a big channel. Look, we got, I think, 80 people watching us. That's okay. It's us. We're here. You know what I'm saying? Like I say on every show, we're like that little Cessna plane, 6-passenger Cessna plane that's flying into some part of eastern Florida to a private airport. We're flying below radar. We're flying as low as we can so we don't get seen picked up by the radar, and not to attract too much attention from the people on the ground. And we're making our way in that little Cessna to a private airstrip. That's what we are here, guys. We're just below the radar. Nobody knows we exist. You know, we care about each other. I've talking to a lot of people that right now that are, he's saying it's Sean, not Stefan. Oh yeah, Sean, sorry. Sorry about that. It's Sean Lieberman. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we had a good discussion today. We got Margie Hayes in the house. Low Roller Scratcher, you hear about Boogaloo movement in the right. Oh my God. We're going to look at that, whatever that is. I don't even want to know. Will H. Hilldog replace Biden? Oh, that lady's got 20 quadrillion indictments and whatever, tons of stuff on her, and dockets and plaintiffs and all kinds of stuff happening to her, and it's not going to fly. She will run for, they'll probably allow her to run for president while she's being indicted and all kinds of stuff. Papa Pissed sent me $2.79. I love Hill Dog, China, woo, WHO, UN, YouTube, and the gravy. All right, let's keep going here. All right, so guys, I kind of want to throw that out there. Kind of set things straight. We're open for debate. Pull up your socks, look sharp, and let's see what we got going on here. Let's go over a bit of news before we get our first caller on, Mike in the night. What's tonight's topic? I was supposed to get somebody very important, like somebody who's like, everybody in the chat will know this person. Everybody will know. Oh, wow. How did you get this guy to come on your show? Like, really, how did you get this guy? For real, Mike. And he'll be like, well, he actually watches the show. And you'll be like, wow, blank watches your show? Really? Yeah, there's a couple of people out there that watch the show, but there's a couple of couple of people that you would never believe actually watch this show. And I was on Skype with him for a little while, and I said, look, can I just tell people who you are? He's like, no, Mike, come on, we gotta have a confidential agreement. You know, I watch your show, I support you, and I'm 100% behind you. And I'm like, man, all you have to do is just mention my name in my YouTube channel one time, and I'll probably get up there in subscribers like pretty much overnight. That's it. But you know what? I like keeping it like this. Yeah, 16 Filipinos have died of starvation this year. No, I think it's 16,000 died of starvation this year for the Cerveza death. Yeah, it's a bunch of garbage. Green BB4 saying Canada has sold out to the USA for the last 50 years, and now people are complaining about China now. All you got to do is look at the WSC to WTI differential between friends. Yeah, Canada right now is in a very precarious situation. In a good way, America's on our border, right? But who do you want to be taken over by? The Americans, or do you want to be taken over by the Chinese? That's what Canadians need to ask themselves. Right? For me, I'd prefer to be taken over by Americans, right? They founded the Western principles, right? When they started their declaration, when they had their Declaration of Independence, a lot of people don't understand that the Declaration of Independence is high treason. It was actually what is going against the current government. You guys don't understand. The Declaration of Independence is actually like us today going against our current government and betraying it and creating a new government for the people, by the people. And that's what the Declaration of Independence is. And the most important signature on the Declaration of Independence is John Hancock. And a lot of people don't know that, right? But anyone that put their names on that Declaration of Independence were basically ready for the gallows. They've written off their lives, and they said to their fellow family and friends that I am signing this document. It is high treason, and I'm ready to die for my people. And that's what they did, and that's what they created. And a lot of other countries, like Canada, was kind of founded on the same principles. Some of Mexico was. Brazil, a lot of those countries were founded on the freedom of information, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of all kinds, right? And it's because America. If it wasn't for America, and let's say America was colonized, let's say by some other group, it'd be a completely different world today we would be living in, right? So yeah, I'd prefer to be like I'm looking forward after in the comments if you guys want to let me know who would you rather be taken over by, right? Yeah, India is going to take care of China, says Gino in the comments. Remember, guys, we discussed this on the show like a year or two ago, and we brought it back up a few months ago about the Sino-Indian border dispute. There was one, I think it was in 1959. And the 1960 something, there was massive war on that border, and it was the Chinese Communist Mao regime that was invading India and going into their territory and taking over territory. And then the second India pleaded for help from the United States, China backed down, and then China created propaganda films telling the people that India started this and India invaded Chinese space. And they kind of turned the tables. And that's pretty bad on a world level, right? So if you start rehashing some of that stuff, whew, a lot of people don't know about the Indo-Sindo War. I was actually thinking about writing a book called the Chinese World Wars. A lot of people don't know. Yeah, Mike, of course we know that Japan invaded China. No, there's a lot more that happened after that. There's a lot of wars. You know, you got Tibet. You got India. You got all kinds of stuff happening, and just the steamroller of communism, the steamroll movement of communism. Then you had the North Korean conflict. You had the conflict in Korea, right? So, okay, let's get back to the comments here. China has fair weather, friends. Only no money, no honey for them. Blunt News says it's all about water. Steven Sewell says, just got the notification. Aquarius in the house. So, just surrender, Canadians. Lord Harmonica says, just surrender, Canadians don't want to become communist. We don't want to become communist China. I'd prefer to, honestly, to be under the American, if the Constitution sticks, and there's a way to actually have transparent elections and anybody on the planet is allowed to run. So you don't need $5 million to run for president. And there was a way where basically grassroots parties could come in. And that's why the electoral system was put into place, is to stop a tyrannical takeover. That's why they put this stuff in place, right? The Bill of Rights. It started with the Magna Carta, right? And then from there, things started to evolve in favor of the average serf / average wage earner, even high wage earner right now in the Western countries are having a really tough time making ends meet. Okay, let's get over some quick news here. I don't want to tie you guys up too much with my boring speeches. All right, let's go over to Article Scan. Let's see what's happening here. From our friends at Zero Hedge. Zero Hedge has lost their funding, And that's why we're going to be reading articles or looking at articles from Zero Hedge, because they were deemed as fake news. So they lost their advertising. So here you go. So now you have you see these companies here, they're advertising on here. I could tell. See, Motley Fool's advertising on here. See, private companies now are starting to advertise on here because people actually come here. And these are the people you want to target. You want to target the people that read this, because a lot of these people have the money to spend in the infrastructure. And a lot of people that read this kind of news to try and figure out what really is happening between the lines are the ones that support the infrastructure and actually produce. So, U.S. Attorney Berman to immediately leave SDNY after sacking. I'll be leaving the U.S. Attorney's Office for a Southern District of New York, effective immediately. One dead after shooting in Seattle Autonomous Zone. Chaz, Chop, or whatever you want to call it. They're changing the name every 2 weeks. Call it has just suffered its first fatality. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Chaz, Chop. Nearly half of Americans consider selling home as COVID crushes finances. And these are a lot of Americans that own a home that's worth $230,000 that are in this boat. It's not like, and Canadians, because Canada's so manipulated with numbers and all that crap, you think it's bad that the Fed's buying up debt or buying up the economy? No, Canada's manipulating the numbers on its people. Okay, at least in America, you have a chance to get somewhere and move ahead and just move. All you have to do is move to another city. In Canada, we're out of cities. So they're on the hook for $230,000 average home. Canada, you know what they're on the hook for average home? In some of the cities we live here? 1.2, 1.4 million they're on the hook for, average wage earners. Leaked documents reveal right-wing oligarch plot to overthrow Mexico's AMLO. Mexico's oligarchs and establishment parties have united in a secret alliance to try and remove left-wing President López Obrador from power with help from the media in Washington and Wall Street. Of course! Staggering number, over 18 trillion in global stimulus in 2020, 21% of the world GDP. You know what that means, people? We got to open the debt clock. Raven said it went up 80 billion bucks in one day. Another 8-year-old criminal mastermind arrested. Even though the note was clearly identified as pretend money, shop staff felt obligated to call the police. Oh no. You can now buy this bankrupt cruise ship at auction. Oh wow. This is probably cheaper than buying a house in Vancouver or Sydney or Los Angeles. How much is this thing? $4 million bucks. That's the price of 2 homes in Vancouver. You could own 2 homes in Vancouver, or you could buy this cruise ship for $4 million bucks. 2 run-down, broken, garbage homes. Not mansions, like Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen's house. I'm talking about, like look at the house, and it's like, this house is 140 years old, and it needs 200 grand in Canadian labor, 400 grand in Canadian labor. Same labor in somewhere in Texas would cost you like maybe $5,000 to do, but 200 grand in Canada. Okay. Raj is saying meat prices in Costco up 40%. Trudeau is going to flood the UN with money to win the next UN seat. Okay, let's move on to the next story. Is U.S. oil dominance coming to an end? Is the petrodollar coming to an end? We've been talking about the petrodollar for years now. You know, they pulled off the gold standard. They start going on more of hedging it off an economic standpoint, that we don't have to base it off gold or silver or any monetary system, because we could base it off the country's economics, wealth, and strength. But things are going to come up to a rude awakening real soon. Real soon. China to gain draconian powers in Hong Kong. Bill unveiled Saturday. Now, let me say something here, and I'm not backing up China in any way, shape, or form possible. I'm not. Okay? But the same bill was actually passed in Portuguese China, in Macau. That's Portuguese China. They passed that same bill 10 years ago, and not a single rock or anything, nothing happened. Nothing happened since. I don't think anything happened. No one got arrested. So, I'm not saying that they should pass this bill. I don't know. Like, I don't really, but I'm just telling you it did happen 10 years ago in Macau, right? All right, let's get to... Wow, we got a lot of people in the comment section. I, who hates shorting, just shorted an entire stock market. Here's why. I'm sharing this trade so you can hail me as the obliterating moron that infamously shorted the greatest rally floating weightlessly ever higher above the worst economic corporate crisis imaginable. So I shorted quite a few. I don't know if you guys remember the story I did, a short 8-minute video. It's called Short the Entire Market. I did it in December, early January, and I was saying, man, it's time to short. I shorted ExxonMobil, a couple of oil companies. I shorted one airline. I think it was it Qantas? I shorted one airline that wasn't doing well financially. It wasn't because of this COVID thing. It just wasn't financially doing well, right? With cross-asset correlation at all-time high, JPM asks, why not just own anything? So there it is. Moving forward, there's the balance and the growth right there. That's the balance and growth across 40 markets. I love this. This is classic. This is totally Mike in the Night material. UN deletes pro-Antifa tweet after backlash. So I guess UN obviously will support Antifa, right? Antifa is I'm so surprised that these guys actually have a flag. I'm so surprised that they've actually assembled a flag, or maybe that was just put together for them, I guess, so they don't look like idiots. But I'm actually thrown that these guys have a flag. So, all right, let's keep going here, folks. Department of Justice defends Idaho's ban on transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. Over a third of Americans think civil war is likely. That's a lot of people. Silenced. We live in a time when our opinions qualify as crimes. If you're looking ahead at the future looks bright, that might be because you're seeing your country on fire. And let's see what our friends over at Clown News Network are saying. Trump criticizes removal of Confederate monuments. Yeah, I'd criticize it too. You're tearing the historical integrity of the country apart. You erase the history, guess what? It doesn't erase what happened. Leaving it there lets future generations understand what happened. Right? All right. All right, let's get into some comments. Before we get anybody coming on the show, let's just jump over to the comments, guys. Thanks for joining us, guys. Go below the show right now, like right now below this show, and just share it. It says share. Share this thing. And having a really tough time getting the show out nowadays. I'm here in Sector 16, guys. All right, here we go. We got Bird718 says Macau is tiny, mostly with casinos. Lord Humongous says Big Tech is about to get smoked again, like the .com bubble. You definitely is headed that way. And Lord Humongous did bring this up on Monday and Fridays. Can't Read Market Talk. He brought it up on Monday in the comments, and he brought it up on Friday on the show. Then we got Aquarius. What is she saying here? Papa Pissed, I believe it. I was already getting direct deposit for GST and my son's income tax returns. We have a joint account. Okay, there's something else they're talking about there. A lot of conversation going on here in the comment section. Okay. Bird 718 says Antifa is a terrorist organization. Yeah, it's like Cobra. You remember? No, I can't even compare Antifa to Cobra from GI Joe. That is, it's impossible because Cobra was organized. They knew what they wanted. They had a plan. They always had a strategy. They had leadership. They had followers that actually understood the narrative. They had an arsenal of proper weapons. They had some pretty cool schemes, I might have to add, the Cobra. But Antifa, they don't shower. They don't know what they want. They don't, I've been doxxed already by some Yahoo that lives in Australia, doxed my address and everything. So, like, people know where I live, you know, sign me up for gay porn sites with my photos and my address on there and all kinds of weird stuff. And yeah, Antifa is a terrorist organization. Keyboard warriors. They're a bunch of losers. Non-productive losers. I think they're what do you call those people? Entitled. And the world owes me everything. Losers. Okay. Ooh, something just opened. Oh, there it is. Something. CNN just refreshed, and they're bashing Trump again. So they always take things out of context. Trump says he wanted COVID-19 testing slowed down. Yeah, good. Canada didn't test Canada didn't test nobody, and they tested people, but they didn't test nowhere near where they should because they don't want to waste money on that, and they kept flights open from China 24/7. I could get on a plane. And I could fly to China during any time of this crisis. But if I want to get on a plane and let's say go to Miami, I ain't going to Miami. They won't let me fly to Miami. Let's say I go down and want to visit Lord Humongous there and go to one of those nice sandwich shops and get a nice big roast beef sandwich with a big pickle up top and mayonnaise and all kinds of stuff. All right? I couldn't do that. I can't get on a plane and go to Denver. You know? I couldn't fly into Denver Airport. Why? Because we can't fly there. But I could get on a plane and I could fly to China, where the sickness originated from. You tell me how that's even possible. Okay, lots of stuff going on. Okay, so Antifa would be like some goons, Cobra pays to wreak havoc. Okay, havoc, yes. So Antifa would be those guys with the you know the guy with that, what were those guys? The guy with the chainsaw, the dreadnoughts, right? Yeah, but the dreadnoughts were actually cool. The dreadnoughts. Let's see if they have the dreadnoughts here. Well, they have toys of them. I'm just the dreadnoughts. I think Zartan used to run the dreadnoughts. Like this is what technically, if G.I. Joe was if Cobra was Antifa, it'd be the dreadnoughts. Try to see if I could find a photo of them so you guys could see what I'm talking about. But I'm not seeing anything that's yeah. But I just kind of wanted to throw that out there because, I don't know, they're a bunch of losers. They don't shower. They live in their parents' basement, and their parents are dying to get them out of the houses. They don't want to produce. A lot of them have these degrees that got them nowhere. Okay, here's a picture of a dreadnought. Let's see if it opens. If it even opens. No, it doesn't. Well, does it open? So this is what the dreadnoughts would look like. These guys right here. But these guys look pretty cool, you know? Mohawks and... But these guys actually look pretty cool. There's their motorcycle there. There they are there. So that's Antifa would be that if that was Cobra, but I don't know. I'm still not seeing that either. MT says, I like Antifa. Blunt News says the biggest crime in our lifetime. COVID economic stimulus plus shutting down everything. Anna Key saying Antifa will destroy the old mechanisms to bring a universal basic income. That way, being non-productive, losers are fed. Yeah, you know what? I'm just, I don't mind. Look, I don't mind paying my taxes, and I pay a lot of taxes, guys. I really do. I don't mind paying a lot of taxes, and okay, leave me alone, okay? But the people that we're supporting, get lost. Get lost. Nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? Let the people that are producing and building and supporting the infrastructure, let them operate in peace. Instead of smashing up their shops and burning down towns and cities and stuff. And for what? It's a double, triple, quadruple loss. Because the productive people can't be productive anymore because they're pretty much in trouble. Right? So they can't be productive anymore because they're not allowed to be productive anymore. And then you get a bunch of losers that have been getting handouts most of their lives complaining. And that's like, well, what are you complaining about? All right, I'm going to stop bashing Antifa. Because, you get my drift, right, guys?
Hello, everyone. How's the situation in Russia?
All right, let's get, I want to get somebody on the phone here to help de-stress me a bit here. I'm not stressed, guys. Today was my, let me show you guys. Today was my mom's birthday and my son's birthday. They were born on the same day of each other. And that was something, something very exciting for us today here. We celebrated, we enjoyed the family, just having a good time. I hear the kids in the bathtub, ready going to bed. So let's go to this right here. Here we go, guys. Today was my son's birthday. 1 in a million. And he turned 6 today. There's my son, Antonio. And my daughter. There they are. My mom. The whole family. Look at that, guys. Look at that. Birthdays at the house today. Oh, there I am there. Yeah! See, I didn't even change my shirt. Presents. That's what it's about. Right, guys? That's what it's about. Right there. That's what you live life for. Right there. I just had somebody message me on YouTube in the comments asking if I'm doing Mike in the Night tonight. They can't find me. So that's just how it's going to go forward, guys. Our little underground discussion. Underground discussion. We got Linda in the house. Hollywood. Steven Sewell. MT. AV 1611 in the house. Yeah, you know what? They're trying to take out religion. Well, if you guys don't know this yet, I believe in God the Father, Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. They're trying to get rid of, like, everything. They're just trying to create some sort of, almost like a new parallel dimension. Because I'm not fathoming what they're trying to do. What's the end game? Total control, everyone says. Total control. But then what? Okay, you got control. Then what? How are you going to take my soul? You can't take my soul. That's one thing you can't take from me, is my damn soul. Yeah, those 80 cartoons were amazing, man. G.I. Joe. If you watch G.I. Joe Season 1, Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's so politically incorrect. My kids watch it all the time. My kids watch, like, shows like Alf. My son watches MacGyver. You know, we watch all stuff. You know, we watched all kinds of stuff together like that. Like we watched Miami Vice. Aniki saying it's being flipped. Where's Aniki? Aniki, where are you? I want to get you on the show. Can you talk? Let me see if I can. Here she is. Chatted 5 months ago. Let's get our friend over from Australia here. Let's see if she's got her Skype on here. See if Aniki will turn on her Skype and talk to us. You know, I've almost talked to everybody in this. There's a guy, you know, I'm reading that comment there. I've almost talked to everybody, almost everybody in the comments here. I've almost talked to everybody in person. Like, not in person, sorry. 10% or 20% of this comment group here commenting have met me in person, have been to my store. This week I had 4 people visit me. Wednesday I had somebody. Thursday I had somebody. Friday I had 2 people. And Saturday today I had Sean Liemerman come and visit me at the store. From Richmond, BC. Drove all the way up like 2.5 hours to come and see me here at my store. Right? And a lot of people are like, holy, you know, there's not a, like, you know, if I was that bad or somebody that this bad, what do you call it, person, why would I be given instructions to people where to find me at a given time, all the time? If I was on the run or had something to hide, why would I be telling people where I'll be all day at a certain time, and I'll be there? Yeah, someone's saying MacGyver's the best. Oh, Anna's saying that she forgot her password on Skype. You know, because it's Skype, you know what I don't use this on my Skype password or anything, but I used to just use an old phone number that's in the back of my head that I can't get out. I just use an old phone number that I'll never forget as a password. No one will ever guess it. All right, let's see who's out there in the world of Skype. Who is out there in the world of Skype? Oh, there's T-Square. I wonder, he's probably live streaming right now. I'm just going through nice and slowly here. I wonder if Mitch is out there. Oh, Steve the Plumber's there. Skype Bill Gates. Yeah, the problem with I'm going to be, let's call Eduardo. You know what? I'm going to be really frank with you guys. I don't even want to talk to those people. Like, if someone says, hi, Mike, Bill Gates actually wants to have a discussion with you about something. First, he wouldn't want to talk to me. 2, I have nothing to talk about I have nothing to say to the guy. You know, I don't know these people. You know, you're on here. You know me. You know what we're talking, and I know you because you know what we're talking about on here. You know what I'm saying? And most of these people have met me, and half of these people, like Lord Humongous, Blunt News, like everybody here, David Xavier, we've talked together on the phone. You know, this is not like any typical Mickey Mouse YouTube channel. This is like we know each other. Okay, let me call Eduardo. I want to find out what the heck is going on. He's going to give us an update on what's going on.
Mike, how's it going?
Eduardo, how are you, my brother?
Good.
It's so good to see you.
Met some of your fans at the Toronto protest this week and last week and a few weeks past.
Oh, you met some of my fans. Who?
Yes, and they recognized me from our show.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's so good. What did they say?
They say you got to go on tonight. And I say, why don't you guys go talk to Mike? He says, nah, we're camera shy. You go on. Tell him what's going on here in Toronto. Tell him about the protests.
Interesting. So what's going on, buddy? Tell us. Fill us in.
Well, for the last, 9 weeks now, every Saturday at Queen's Park, which is the capital of Ontario, there's between 300 and 500 people protesting.
And what are they protesting? What do they want? What's the end game?
They want to end the lockdown. They want to end the communism that's being self-imposed by our tyrannical government.
It kind of
There's
think
people
about
talking
this.
about anti-vaxxers. There's people talking about democracy. There's
Right.
people want to get back to school. People want their businesses open.
Yeah,
There's
because
people talking about loopholes in leases. If you have a commercial lease and the government shuts you down, you don't have to pay that commercial lease.
yeah. Well, yeah, well, they have to fix something. But let me ask you something, Eduardo. I was looking at an article on CNN, and I posted it under my community chat, where several thousand doctors have signed a proposal to let the protests and riots take place and not use COVID as an excuse to stop it. Okay? And then Trump has a rally today is it in Tulsa, Oklahoma? He's got a rally today. And they're bashing him, saying, oh, look at it, he's having a rally with people. And what the hell is he doing? And he doesn't care about all these people that could potentially get sick with COVID. But then CNN says it's okay to riot and protest, but not okay to go to a Trump rally. What the heck is going on?
One law for you, another law for me.
So that's tyranny.
Pretty much.
One law applies to you, but it doesn't apply to... Yeah, okay, so that's... Huh. Was there any Antifa shakeups there in Toronto?
Actually, today I got threatened by an Antifa guy.
Did you break his face?
No, there's way too many cops around, and I'm a nonviolent kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
I'll take the first punch, and then it's all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. Okay.
But, yeah, there's a few nut jobs out there. They know who I am. The guy was begging me to retire.
Retire? You ain't going nowhere.
No, I'm not going nowhere. I know how great this country once was. I know how it can be even better in the future. And, I don't have any kids that I know of, so I got nothing to lose, really.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you're a great person, and we want you to be here, right? But we need to... we just have to do, like, I don't know, let's just be, like, you got to do the kickball test. Like, once in a while, Antifa comes around, or if they come and threaten you, just do a kickball test and see if it hurts, or they just stand there and say, what are you doing?
Mike, it was just over a year ago, I got back kicked by Antifa on Dundas Street, leaving a protest. And I got up off the sidewalk, and I seen another gentleman who's 7 years old get bricked in the head and jumped on by 10 other Antifa. They're beating the shit out of him.
A 70?
70-year-old, yeah, Jack Reynolds.
And what did they gain from that? Did they gain some position or?
Well, no, they're trying to intimidate people that that are not communists. People that go to these protests and actually show their faces and actually stand up for what's right and wrong. And these are people that are denouncing anyone that speaks anything against their narrative. They're after them. They want to intimidate you.
Okay,
beat
hold
you
on.
up.
Eduardo?
Yep.
You just said it. You're going to tell us what is their narrative.
Communism is the only way to go. They are the militant wing of the communist group, Communist Party of Canada. All their tactics are fascist, even though they claim to be anti-fascist. These guys organized in Germany back in the early 30s. I don't know if people realize that, but that's where their flag comes from.
Okay, because we did see the flag earlier.
Yeah, well, they took that flag from the Antifasciste from Deutschland.
Mm-hmm.
So this is
Interesting.
not a new flag. This flag's been around coming up to 100 years already.
Mm-hmm. So does Antifa know what type of communism they want? I mean, have they let us know if it's Leninism? Is it Marxism? Is it Stalinism? Is it Trotskyism? Is it Maoism? Like, what kind of path are they taking with communism? Are they making it clear what kind of I mean, you even have Luxembourgism. You got the Council of Communism, Leonism. Like, they're gonna have to be more specific with what kind of communism they want, because if they want a specific, like, do you know what kind of communism they're after?
No, because most of these kids are on slow release Adderall. They get food when they go show up to these protests. When they're bus to events, there's always food being catered. And I think that's where they're getting drugged up and they don't even know it. Or maybe they're just giving them drugs.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna bust it out to over in? Are you gonna bust it out to that Chaz over in Seattle, that private city that they built or they shut down?
No, I'm going to let the bikers and the cops fix them.
Okay, all right, because that would have been nice. Hey, we're gonna send Eduardo on a field trip out there to cover it for us there and for his channel and for his people and see what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, July 1st, I don't know if you heard, but in Canada, we're having a virtual Canada Day.
Oh, we're doing that?
Yeah, but apparently there's about anywhere between 10 and 20,000 patriots are not getting the message. So they're showing up on Parliament Hill on July 1st. They're meeting up by Ottawa City Hall, marching over to Parliament Hill, and they're going to camp out.
Interesting. That's
So
very
it's
interesting.
coming down to, it's not left versus right anymore. It's good versus evil. People are starting to wake up to the fact that we're in big trouble here.
But can I throw something out there? During the
Sure.
Stalinism regime, during those regimes when specific governing members and stuff, it went had different ideologies from 1927 to basically 1953, and they had a Stalinist policy, right? But what they did was the people weren't going around doing the crap Antifa's doing today, and that's what I'm not understanding. Like, I'm pretty sure if you were doing the stuff Antifa was doing today, back in the let's say 1953 in Russia, I think you'd be in a lot of trouble.
Where do you think this came from?
Well, obviously everything starts out somewhere in Europe, Eastern Europe.
Yeah, so the Stalinism, Marxism, this all came from Leninism, Trotskyism. A lot of this stuff originated in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
The Bolsheviks, the Bolshevik Revolution.
Yeah, they're the ones that were siding with Stalinism.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys were in Germany too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where anti-fascists and all this stuff. Now they've twisted it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't promote communism. They promote anti-fascism. So they call anybody that doesn't agree with them a fascist. This is a form of subversion. They're very good at it. That's how these people operate. You got Malthusians that came from Europe. They get into the universities. John Hopkins University, place is loaded with Malthusians.
Let me
And
ask you,
guess what else? COVID-19 propaganda, the plan.
what do you think of them tearing down statues again?
They got to rewrite history. That's why they're tearing down the statues. A lot of people don't realize that the Civil War in the States had nothing to do with slavery.
Nope. And you
But
know
it had everything to do with state rights.
it did. A lot of people don't know that the North held slaves 9 years longer than the South.
Shh, Mike, don't let that get out. Come on, that's truth.
But
Can't
any
speak.
so where do you think? So where do you think we're headed? What do you think is going to happen? Like, we're getting these protests in Ottawa, but in Toronto, all over Canada, whatever, in America. But we had the Gilets de Jean protest, the Yellow Vest movement in France now. It's going on for like 77 weeks, right? And there's nothing has really come of it, right? So, but Gilets de Jean is not an Antifa movement. It's more of a movement for the people to try and get some sort of wiggle room from heavy taxation and tariffs and stuff. And then you got the protests in Hong Kong, which are obviously different because they don't want to partake in what China has to offer. But in the end, like, these protests are endless. What's going to happen? I mean, could these people be voted out? What do they do?
In France, the standard of living has started to decline for many years already, and that's why they're starting to hurt. Gas prices is what they said. Oh, that's what it was. No, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, was the high gas prices, because people were barely able to get enough money to pay for the rent and food. Jobs were waning. They're bringing in lots of immigrants to put even more pressure and downward pressure on the jobs and the wages. They've seen everything is going to shit. Do you notice how none of this is covered on mainstream media?
Well, no, of course. What the mainstream media is not there to actually give you news. The mainstream media is there to misdirect you 100%.
And therein lies the problem, and a lot of the stuff with this COVID nonsense. If you look at all the doctors and all the alternative media and statements that have come out, the media is totally brainwashing people, and people actually believe what they read on mainstream media. I tuned on to CFRB 1010 in Toronto a couple mornings ago, driving to work. I almost threw up.
Yeah, you can't listen to that crap. That stuff's terrible.
Unbelievable, the lies.
People are so brainwashed.
People don't even realize they're brainwashed. And then you throw an effective argument, like you question someone, they scoff at you. But people are waking up slowly. So where's this going? Well, we're being subverted into accepting communism worldwide. That's what UN Agenda is all about, the one world government. That's what it's all about. Agenda 2020, 2021, 2030. Look into the Kalergi plan from the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
They want us divided. They want us fighting with each other.
Well, they're dividing us.
One thing I got to hand it to Trudeau, and this is true. Diversity is their strength. It's true.
Their strength, not our strength.
No, ours is unity.
Right.
And that's why when you go to Queen's Park on a Saturday afternoon and you see people that are all different ages, different walks of life. A lot of them are an older crowd, but there is people bringing their kids with them.
Let me ask you.
A lot of people discussing things with themselves. A lot of different opinions, and people are actually listening to each other and listening to the concerns they have. And if there's one thing that's common, people realize we're in trouble. We're getting played. And those are the ones that are showing up. They want to, with their banners and their complaints and their statements, and they want things to improve. People are actually standing up and saying, we're not going to take this shit anymore.
Let me ask you something, Eduardo, because you just tapped on another question I wanted to ask you about saying things. Why is it, sorry, let me ask you this in the question form. Why is it that when you go on to Canadian media, when it's live, and the Prime Minister or anybody's talking, and they're live, and it's an assembly, obviously, because we're all assembled there to watch this guy talk, like everyone's assembled here to watch us talk and discuss, why is it that they turn off the comments on every Canadian live stream? What the hell? What's the point of going live?
Look, it's propaganda. How more obvious does it have to be? It's propaganda, programming, television programming.
Well, they're thinking of doing this. They're thinking of doing this now. There was an article from 2 days ago. It's up there. You could see it. Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube are all going to be on the hook for comments. Not the creators, because they're having a tough time getting rid of creators. We're trying our best to try and self-censor ourselves, to try and get our point across without getting our butts kicked by the algorithm. But now, what do they do when they shut down comments? Like, what the hell?
Mike, I was talking to a lady today after the protest. She was from Romania. She came here as a little girl. And I think she said she was in grade 2 when they left Romania for Canada. And Romania at the time was under Ceausescu, very rigid communist system, right?
That was in 77?
Yeah, I think he fell apart. I think that fell apart in the early 80s, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, though. But Ceausescu was a ruthless communist leader, dictator. All the kids have been indoctrinated so well, and the parents knew that if they told the kids the truth about how bad communism is and how good it was before, that those parents would disappear. They had to keep their mouth shut. We're going there, people. It's almost here. So
Interesting.
you control the narrative, you control the minds of the people, then that's how you rule them. You don't have to rule with a heavy hand anymore. As long as you've got a few people being made examples of. Look at Antifa. They scare the shit out of older people. They try to kill you on the streets. They shout you down. They intimidate you. There's all kinds of videos of all the horrors that Antifa does to people that are just trying to get the word out, spreading a message. And if it's not their narrative, they attack you hard. They kick you. They try to beat you down. If they see you wearing a Trump Make America Great hat again, they'll try to steal it off you. They'll try to beat you down. They'll start yelling and chanting. They'll call you racist and every other name of the book. This is their modus operandi. This is the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah, that was
It's
the
written
manifesto of Maoism, actually. That one originates from Maoism, believe it or not. You remember Mao, the Marxist, leftist, Leninist, basically steamrolled communism all over Tibet and all over the, even at creating conflict with India. So let's just touch really quick. Hold on. I got a comment in here I want to comment on real quick. From Retro Knight saying, Mike, you have been talking a lot of garbage for so long now. All talk about BC housing market. The prices are still high and no end in sight here. Retro Knights, saying, I've been waiting for a price correction in BC, nothing yet. Retro Knights, look at your government. Okay? I've been saying markets were going to crash for the longest time in Australia, in the UK, and in Canada and Western United States because I was tying average wage earners to home prices. And average wage earners are nowhere near within affordability levels to buy a house. Even if they ate cardboard for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they had cardboard and they ate cardboard every day, they still couldn't afford a house. So that's what I was going off. And the government kept stepping in and with a little bit of pixie dust, sprinkling some crack on everything and keeping things going. And that's what's happened. So, Retro Knights, it's your government. Your government's been doing this, and we've been selling out to the highest bidders. So anyways, I was going to...
Real estate is directly... okay, real estate, I witnessed the housing correction in Toronto in 1981.
Yep, that was when gold went to $1,000 an ounce overnight.
Yeah, there was a housing correction price in 72, 81. From 91, house prices in Toronto went down. From 91 until 96. I bought at the bottom of the market, December of 96. We haven't had a correction since. We're way overdue.
Okay, now I wanted to ask you the next question was the Sindo-Indian conflict. Sindo-Indian conflict on the Pakistan/China border where, you're not going to believe this, Eduardo, I think you know this, where China invaded the no-go zone that was created by the UN. China invaded, basically ripped India apart in that northeastern region, occupied the land, and then the second that India said, we're going to get help from America now, China backed out of that territory and said that it was India that was enticing them to attack. And it was all India's fault. The second they went to get support from the Americans, and China backed right out real quick in a heartbeat. So that's a big deal. And I think things are going to start erupting in that zone, in my opinion. You know, it's known as the Indochina War. I don't know if do you know what I'm talking about, Eduardo? 1962.
I'm not familiar with that war. Sorry.
It was the big dispute on the Himalayan border. They're basically fighting over that little piece of territory. But anyways, I'm thinking, Eduardo, and I'm going to timestamp this and say it right now on the show. I think if there's any hot war or any hot war starts to take off, or I guess it's not going to be the South China Sea because a lot of countries lack a good navy. I think it's going to be between India and China because that war was a big, big war, and a lot of people, they were looking about 60,000 people perished in that war, and it went on for a couple of days. And I think right now as we speak, Eduardo, there's been scrimmages every day, and India lost 26 soldiers along that border. So I think it's going to get worse as we go.
Well, I haven't followed that, and I really can't comment on it. I'm more concerned with what's going on in our country and how fast we're losing it to these technocratic revolution / communism that's here.
Okay, let me ask you now. Let me steer the question. If we get hot war somewhere in the world, if we get a big hot war somewhere in the world, would that start changing the narrative and helping these Antifa guys more? Or will it bring more, we got to confiscate more guns? Or what do you think will happen?
And these Antifa people and these Marxists that are throughout the government of Canada are going to keep pushing their narrative because they want more controls on the people, and people don't realize how quickly their rights are eroding in this country.
Right.
And it's everywhere. And they've got people fighting against, you got brother fighting against brother. One brother realizes a COVID hoax. It's quite the scam. It's nothing more than a flu. Mm-hmm. And the other one says, no, you're an asshole because people are dying by the thousands. Don't you watch CNN? See how they've divided families? Well,
Vancouver, I don't know if you know, but in Vancouver, I covered this. More people OD'd on fentanyl in the last month than and the more people died in fentanyl in the last month in the city of Vancouver, not in the province of BC, the city of Vancouver, than that died from COVID from December to now in the entire province.
Where's fentanyl made?
China.
I love China.
Let me get that. Hold on.
I love China.
Yeah, I love China.
I love China.
All right. Anything else, Eduardo?
No, if people are listening, come to Ottawa July 1st. We're not asking. It's time to take back our country, people.
July
we need to show big force.
Ottawa's what, 3-hour drive from Toronto?
4.5 if you're not speeding.
Oh, okay. 4.5. Okay, 4.5. Okay. So, guys, there will be an assembly. Eduardo, are you going to get some footage there for us?
I'll do what I can. I'm actually going out there with a vehicle and a stage and PA equipment and generators. I'll do what I can.
Well, no, get some footage for yourself and your fans, too, and your followers and your Facebook group and whatever you get or whatever you could get. Let us share it with us, too, here on the show.
Well, I've sent you footage on Messenger about the past protests at Queen's Park. You've seen that,
I did.
Right?
I covered that.
Okay. Oh, Mike, what happened last week? I was trying to get on last week. No show.
Yeah, what happened was, what YouTube's been up to is they kill the stream and force me to create a new stream key. So then people don't know I have a show. So the stream gets killed, and I can't continue streaming on that stream key, right? So I have to create a new stream key. So then the people that set the reminders for the other show are waiting on that show, but while I'm live on another stream key. That's why I only had 50 people watching me last week.
I was looking and I couldn't find it.
Nobody could find me.
1-minute video.
Nobody could find me. But there was a guy from East Africa that was messaging me saying he can't find my show. What the heck is going on?
Time to go to D-Live.
Woo! Well,
seriously, check out D-Live. It's a great platform.
Yeah, I'll check them out. I think I have something there. I think I have an account there already. I'll go check them out, Eduardo. I promise.
Really good audio quality and very good video quality also. All HD.
Okay, I'll do that. All right, man. It was great having you, man. And yeah, keep us updated on what happens on the 1st of July and let us know, okay?
Well, you won't hear about it in mainstream media, that's for sure.
Well, you're going to have
Just
to
like
tell
you don't
us.
hear about the millions of yellow vesters protesting every week in France.
Oh, no, that's illegal to talk about.
1984, George Orwell would be pretty proud, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he'd be pretty proud. I mean, he was a
He
decade
called
and a
it.
half off, but he 2 decades off, but he was on the ball. He knew what he was up. He knew what was going to happen eventually.
We're there. Time to stand up, people.
Wildman is saying Roxy Tube is awesome too. Supreme Cannon's on. He's saying I saw 0 notifications on my screen too. You know, I've been auto-subscribed to MSNBC, CNN, and a bunch of Canadian ones on YouTube, and I never subscribed to them.
That's the propaganda machine at work. Get Lord Humongous on, Mike. Thanks for the time. Talk to
Oh,
you
no
next
problem,
week.
Eduardo. Thank you for your time. Thank you for giving us a little insight. And get some footage of this protest in Ottawa, please. If the mainstream media is not going to cover it, give us some information here, okay?
Well, you can check out Noble Savages on YouTube.
Okay, Noble Savages, we'll check them out.
And
Maybe get one of
Facts
those guys
versus
on the show
Feelings.
sometime.
Yeah, I can get him on the show for you if you want, Derek. I know
Sure.
him personally.
Sure. Okay.
Very
All right,
good.
bro. Have a good one. Good night. Go to sleep.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So, guys, that was Eduardo on the show. Great guy. Great guy. Just going to tell him thank you, my friend. Came on the show. And I want to thank everyone that came up this week to visit me. Had about 5 people watching me come over to visit me at the shop and see me in person. Not a lot of YouTubers you could go to and see like, oh, I know where he's going to be at what time, and I know he'll be there. Not a lot of YouTubers are open like that, right? I got nothing to hide. Okay, we got, wow, okay, so we got somebody here saying they want to see Vancouver housing go down. Anthony Ruvalacaba saying Chilliwack as a whole. Chilliwack and Hope. Chilliwack, Hope. By the way, Rambo 1 was filmed in Hope, BC, by the way. Chilliwack and those places like that. Maple Ditch. The problem is a lot of people left Vancouver and moved east into the interior. And with it, moved the criminal element moved with it, right? So you get people that move in families and stuff, and then criminals move along with it too, right? They want to go where the action is too, right? They want to go where the lucrative, because they want to go to the middle and average class families, criminals, because that's where they make the best. That's where they can make the best for them, you know? Empty cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Vancouver, Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland, London. Those are all empty cities. It's all owned by foreign investors. Nobody lives there. No one could afford to live in their own cities. And it sounds like it's trends in the housing market.
I will tell you, this is going to be something special.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I was going to like it.
All right, let's get back to what's going on here. Let's get back to what's going on right here. This is one I want to bring up too on tonight's show. Article scan, please. Say goodbye. Murder spikes in New York City as residents flee for suburbs. Smart money is getting the hell out of the city. Cities are turning into empty shells, guys. I'm not making this up. I had a friend go to Vancouver not long ago, and he went down to Seattle. He works for transportation company. So he had to go down for a meeting down in Seattle, went to Vancouver. He said, Mike, Seattle's an empty shell, and it's full of people on the streets, and it's full of vagrants and just a very transient look to the city, he said. It was really weird feeling. And he's been going down to Seattle every year for a specific meeting. Every time he goes down, it's getting worse. Why? Because poverty levels are going up. The cost of living is going up. And what happens? You say goodbye, right? So murder spiking in New York City and people are fleeing. Protesters. What are they protesting? What are they protesting for? What are they going to get out of this? All right, let's get see who's here in the thing. We got Sean. Let's get Sean on the show real quick because he actually came to visit me today and he drove all the way home. And he just messaged me a few minutes ago saying that he just arrived home. So we got my man Sean. I wonder if he's watching, though. I don't see him in the comments. Let's see if we can get Sean on. Let's see if he picks up.
Hey.
Sean, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
You got home okay?
Yeah, actually, there's you know how you're driving down the highway and it's like raining, pouring, and then it's all of a sudden sunny, then it's raining again. That happened to me. I couldn't see like 2 feet ahead of me, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Home. Oh, it's all. I love that stuff though.
Okay,
honestly,
adventure. And I'm very happy you came up to visit me at the shop. You're live on the show right now, by the way, and happy you came up and played a board game with me.
Yeah. I forgot what the game was called, but I did enjoy it. What is it called?
Lords of Waterdeep.
Lords of Waterdeep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so came up, played, discussed a few things. The foreign takeover of Vancouver, Richmond. It's really weighing on you. The economic takeover, let's say.
Well, yeah, because it's just creating a diaspora of the people that originally were there, you know, and like it's not so much like Hong Kong, because like when I was growing up in Richmond, by the time I got to high school, it was about 80% like Hong Kong, Cantonese, and then people from the mainland started rolling in, and we don't really have great checks and balances for who's coming into the country. We actually, like, the government intentionally brings in terrorists and you know, really bad people. A lot of governments do this because they realize that they need terrorism to you know, keep people on constant edge.
And they take our guns away.
Yeah, and like when I was watching, well, I remember like a scene from the movie Brazil. 1985, and there's a scene where the lady's like, well, like all this terrorism happens all the time in Brazil, and not the Brazil but the movie.
In the movie,
and the woman was like, well, have you actually met any terrorists? You know, like, have you ever encountered any terrorists personally, right? And like what that means, what she meant was like, well, it's actually the government that's instituted creating the terror, right? Like the questions, you know, that are still up in the air about the Nova Scotia shooter. You know, like the news is saying, oh, he had affiliates in organized crime, but at the same time, he was a big fan of the RCMP, like he was a fanboy. And like I looked at the footage, and I'm like, well, the crash bar, you know, like that ram on the front of the police car, you know. In the picture of what the car when it was not destroyed, was it had the ram on it, had the radio, all the stuff, and then I look at the torched cars in the photo, and I see, well, where's the ram? The ram's not even there. Is that even the right car?
Yeah,
you know,
we start running into different viewpoints of different things, and it starts to open up a can of worms. And
Yeah.
then channels like us get shut down for opening up that can of worms and asking a basic question. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and all I can say is there's a lot more questions regarding that whole situation than there are any answers. And the government, the government promised, of course they, promise everything, the world, but they say, oh, we're going to be very transparent, most transparent government ever, and they're not being transparent about anything. Anything. How many times you got to ask the same freaking question? Is it a yes or no question? What's the deal with those infrastructure projects?
Is that the video I put up with that Mexican guy?
Oh, it was more than that. Like this has been a repeated thing. Like every time he goes to Commons, I think it's Pierre Poilievre saying, every time it's just it's a monkey show because there's nothing gets accomplished. It's really demoralizing. Because like they're not being it's not a full house. I don't understand how all these people can pack into Costco and all these other places, but they can't open up the Commons. That's not an essential service.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that government, they always like to think they're important. So, why would that not be? I guess they get to pick and choose, what's essential, what isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like this foreign thing, it's been happening since like the late 80s, and it's just accelerated. And now we have what we have today, which is everybody being priced out, and you're getting people leaving the cities. And I think eventually they're going to try to corral people back in the cities by tempting them.
It's not going to fly.
Well,
guys, there's to my left, to my left here, your right, I guess. There's Brazil. That's the cover of the movie. It's called Brazil. They don't speak Portuguese in it for some bizarro reason, but if you guys want to watch it, watch the movie. There it is, Brazil. If you could find it on Netflix or something, check it out. It's a game changer. It's a really good movie. Please watch it if you haven't seen it. Movies like this eventually will become illegal to watch. And let's go back to this one article I want to weigh in because we got Sean on Skype here. So murders spike in New York City as residents flee for suburbs. So we're seeing it happening in every major affordability type city is happening. New York is unaffordable. Massachusetts is unaffordable. California is unaffordable. Oregon's unaffordable. And Washington State is completely unaffordable. And they're moving into other states and bringing the criminal element with them too. Because someone said earlier that Chilliwack and all those places are dumps. Well, it's not that. It's that the criminal element moves with the masses, right? And what do you think of that? People fleeing the cities and leaving them in empty shells. Like, what do you think is going to happen in the long term?
Well, like that in the short term, like you're right. I think you're right. It's not going to work where you push them because nobody wants to be there. But in the long term, we have a solar minimum. We're in a solar minimum, so the growing seasons are shorter. There's sabotage basically going on in these meatpacking plants. Which are, like I find it really difficult to believe that, 5,000 people plus keep getting infected with this COVID at the hospital, at plants, but then in hospitals, it's nowhere near that. And they're supposed to be the ones exposed to it all the time. And, again, with, I think I mentioned last time I was on about the investments and stuff, and another caller mentioned that too. So like it's the designed, I mean, UN does the people that basically control the UN, which is like, IMF or the Khazarian cabal or the Sanhedrin, whatever you want to call them. Mm-hmm. They're they don't care if you call them communists or corporatists or whatever. They're at the end of the day, they're totalitarian. They're oligarchs. They're people that they're you could call them fascists or whatever. But at the end of the day, what they want is a global government. And so they want to demoralize police force. I think in the States, they're going to demoralize the police force and get them to quit. And I think in Canada, it's probably going to be a bit different, where they'll just cut funding and they'll use an austerity crisis to do that. And so eventually, I think they're going to get everybody desperate. They're going to get everybody hooked on the UBI. And, if you want food, you got to go to the city, because the city is where you're going to get your lab grown meat and all your, plant-based foods and stuff. And this has been in the works for a long time. I mean, like, what do people think is going to happen? How disconnected are a lot of these parents away from their kids? Because, like, what do you expect to happen when they go to school? Do you realize what they're learning in school? They're learning to be your enemy. They want to destroy the family and the family values. That's not a secret. And this is what communists do, right? I mean, our school system is based off the Prussian school system, and the Prussian school system was designed to indoctrinate because they didn't have enough obedience. They didn't feel that they had enough control over the kids, right? And this is where you get the whole, like, Hitler's Youth and these, well, today it's the Antifa BLM types where, they are groomed this way, and you can't undo that. Like, if they get your kids early enough, you can convince a kid, if they're younger than 6 years old, you can convince a kid that the sky's purple, and they can spend, if you do a good enough job, they could spend the rest of their life arguing with everybody about how, the sky isn't blue, how it's purple.
Yeah.
But parents, like you gotta prioritize your kids, because you're creating more of a problem, for yourself and for society, in regards to what they're teaching these kids in school. I mean, like, I was speaking to this Polish hot dog vendor the other day, and he was talking about how his daughter, like, really loved meat and she enjoyed eating it, and then she went to school and she was basically brainwashed into believing that, like, oh, I'm a vegetarian now. And he thought it was like a phase, oh, my daughter, this guy sells sausages, and she's like, no. And 10 years later, still a vegetarian, still buying into that. And, people don't realize, like, we became as intelligent as we are because of meat. Because of the protein, it's easy to break down. It's very, you have to eat like a freaking 10 pounds of freaking beans and nuts before you get the same protein as like a steak or whatever.
Red meat, yeah.
Yeah. So, this is it's creating sort of, like, I guess, a malnutrition in a way. Nothing against vegetarians. I mean, if it works for you, then great. But everybody's different. Like me personally, I can, I don't know what I would do without meat, because, like, throughout the generations, my genetics have been acclimatized to eating meat. So, like, an East Indian diet wouldn't really cut it for me. If it was strictly vegetarian. But people, like, all this history is being revised too. Like, I definitely recommend, if you see any, like, if you value certain history, go to archive.today or whatever and grab it off that if you can, because, they're currently being sued right now. Something to do with, like, students, and, like, they were trying to do students a favor by giving them materials, and, of course, a university publisher sued them. And so basically they're trying to get rid of archive sites.
Of course they are. It's like modern day book burning.
Yeah, and in all honesty, like, I recommend, if you send anybody an article, a link, like, something that you don't want to support, say BuzzFeed, right? Say you see a BuzzFeed article, well, don't give the link to BuzzFeed and give them traffic. Give them an archive the link, and then post it on an archive site so they don't get that income.
Yeah.
And regards to, I just wanted to touch on DLive. DLive's, like, it's good right now, but I've dealt with Justin Sun. Like, I've dealt with his chief financial officer. I've dealt with his lead programmer, and, like, Justin basically severely screwed the company I was working with. And, like, basically what happened is, like, he created TRX or Tron. And he boasts about how decentralized it is, but he ended up monopolizing the entirety of Tron, because, like, in Tron, in TRX you get to vote for certain protocols, like what the protocols of the currency and stuff, and rewards. You get to vote on the rewards you get, and he totally basically bought everything up and monopolized it. And so you would vote, and then the vote wouldn't go through. You would get what you want, and then they would do a revote, and he would monopolize everything, and then he gets what he wants basically.
Wow.
So DLive is going to be the same scenario. Like you have to, I think, a lot of creators, you get your diamonds and your bananas or whatever, and but you have to cash it out. Okay, how do you cash it out? You have to go to one of his exchange. I think it's like, I don't know if it's Bitfinex or BitMEX or whatever.
Oh, it's one of those. Yeah, that's why I've been kind of avoiding that site for a while.
Yeah, and then you have to convert it into TRX or some like one of the currencies offered there, and then you have to convert it into Bitcoin or something else, or you have to find a way to withdraw it. And so along the way, if you're a content creator on DLive, along the way you're getting skimmed.
Yeah. Like the mafia would come in, no one would say anything, go into the safe, skim the top of the safe, put it in their bag, walk right out, and not a damn person says or sees them or does anything about it.
Yeah, and like the only way like to not be censored and still get income is to accept donations.
Yeah,
that's the only way. Have a website or something and say, here's my Bitcoin address, my Ethereum address, here's my PayPal, whatever, right? Because that's the only way you're not going to be beholden to your advertisers.
That's
right?
true.
Because that's cable news. I mean, like their number one goal is to drive you to their advertisers on top of propagating you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then they get bailouts by the federal government. So does this mean that Canada has state-run media? I think we're allowed to say that, right?
No, it's 100% because 1.4 billion at least to CBC, and then there's the millions and hundreds of millions of dollars given out to like Global and CTV and all these. They're all in the same. They're all in the same camp. You see like Rebel Media trying to get into. I think they're currently suing Trudeau because they kicked Keenan Bixby out or whatever, and nobody's backing Rebel up. Like none of these other, because they're Unifor, they're union, and that's another issue is the unions. A lot of people that are union don't vote for union. They vote for conservative or whatever, which two sides of the same coin. Like all of these choices that we have are the same. Like who's giving these politicians the money to get recognized? Right? The same people. The same people that are paying Trudeau are the same people that are paying Maxime Bernier, same people that are paying Leslie Lewis, I think, or Leslyn Lewis.
Well, this is a great way of seeing it, like what happened with Trump. They want democracy to work. They want to be democratic. They want to have a democracy. They go and vote. The person that wins that the opposition doesn't like goes and protests it. So how does somebody really win an election? Even though they did win, they really didn't win in a way because half the country is divided in a way where they're going against and they're not respecting the democracy and the democratic system.
Yeah. I mean, it's because they, well, when you vote, you are
surrendering your
contract.
Power.
It's a contract. Yeah. Even if person you voted for or didn't vote for, because it's a contract that you are participating in the system. So whether you're the guy, say the guy that you voted or girl you voted for got in, well, and say they lied to you, right? They lied, like they promised all these things, they all the things they were striking all the right chords, and then they do the opposite. You're still it doesn't matter. You're still contractually obligated, as a society. So I don't see the solution in voting, and I do. Pay my taxes, but I do it begrudgingly. Like what are my choices? Like I don't want to support the fact that we let in a bunch of terrorists and we subsidize people, so-called refugees. We don't know if they're refugees or not because, our government doesn't even bother checking, it seems, and it doesn't tell us about its progress.
And deporting scores of Portuguese.
Yeah, well, I mean, all the people that are wanting to build a life here, basically, rather than suck the country dry, and like the dual citizenship thing it's a real issue for me because especially if you're from mainland China, like you get to go back. Everybody with dual citizenship gets to go back to their home country.
Right. But if something screwed up happens in Canada and they get screwed up because of this whole buyout and all this crap that's happening, the Canadians have nowhere to go.
Exactly. And my like, well, people say, oh, go live in another country. Well, it's not easy. Like, it's not easy to, even like, if you want to go to Mexico, good luck buying a house.
You can't
It's
own
nice
property.
over
It's
there,
very
but
complicated in Mexico, and that's why
yeah.
they give you Mexican tourist visas when you're on the airplane to fill out, because you are creating a contract with the Mexican government that you will be leaving after your trip and not return, and you're not going to be working, and you're not going to be doing like a lot of things there.
Yeah, and when things are going to hell in a handbasket in Canada, they're really gonna tighten the border, the people coming into Mexico or wherever else.
Even Thailand and stuff, kind of countries like that, they're not gonna want expats. They're gonna want to slowly phase them out because they're starting to realize that they might become permanents, right?
Exactly, and also, like, the issue is like, even though, say people of my particular demographic are persecuted based on race, religion, or beliefs or whatever, right? Preclusions. Well, nobody's gonna let me into another country as a refugee, because look at South Africa. They didn't let any of the farmers in from South Africa to Canada. But they it's all.
A lot of them went to Mozambique.
Yeah, well, where else are you gonna
Portuguese
go?
Africa. A lot of the government brought in I think it was like 850 one year, and then the next year they brought in like 2,200, and they were given land by the Mozambican government for them to farm, and even bought them stuff, and didn't even put them on the hook for it. Feed our people.
Yeah, and I also wanted to bring up the whole Chaz or Chop. And they renamed it Chop because they didn't want to have the autonomous part in it, because it was like, well, I don't like, they don't want people, they don't want an excuse for the government to come in and ruin their LARP. So, but like, I think 2 people got shot already, and one of them died. I think one of them's in critical condition in the hospital. But like, I say let it be, because the UN wants any excuse for the state to come in, and like, I think that's a long-term sort of goal of theirs, is to have a nationwide police force. So because if say you're from Quebec and you come and you're nationalized, you come to police force, you go to BC, right? You have no connection with the local community. At least with your local police, where Bob the sheriff is. You know where he lives, and so you guys, you can get together as a community and be saying, like, we are not going to put up with this. But you can't do that when some external force comes in, and they're already you're already kind of dehumanized to them. So and I think eventually, like, they're gonna weaponize food. That's one of the things that these totalitarianists do. They weaponize food. So for these truckers that the 76% or 77% of truckers that won't deliver to a city that doesn't have a police force, because their jobs are already dangerous as it is.
Right.
That's going to be used. They're going to use weaponized food and basically say, well, if you want food, you got to come to the smart city. We give you this lab-grown meat. We have plenty of that. And you look at you're starving, and your property taxes are gone up. You're about to lose your house in the middle of nowhere. So, what choice do you have? Like, they're going to take away everybody's options. And I think it's I don't know if this is going to be a successful revolution or not, but it is.
They don't have an
definitely
organization. They're not like Cobra. Somebody was saying, like, earlier in the comments that they were like Cobra, a terrorist organization. Chaz or whatever these guys are called, are like the Cobra. No, Cobra had a plan. Cobra had a path. Cobra had proper weaponry. Cobra had a doctrine. This is different. This is not Cobra. This is.
Well, no, it's like I said, it's a total LARP.
Yeah.
But like, wait till the real criminals start showing up. And Antifa, all these Antifa kids, they don't know what they're in for. They have no freaking clue.
Why did
and
they kick
they're
all the
about
homeless
destruction.
people out?
Well, because that was I think it was that was on the first day because they ate all the food, and then you had the initial leader saying, "Oh, please send us vegetarian friendly food and like basically like soy products and vegetables and stuff." And then but that leader got me too'd. This is within the first 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That leader got me too'd and called out, and then the quote unquote Instagram no SoundCloud artist warlord guy came in,
Mm-hmm.
and now like he handed out guns to people, so now they have like an armed guard thing going on. And yeah, like it's the Democrats are doing this like if you want them to go home, just turn off the Wi-Fi and the power.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to take much to get these people to get out of there. But the mayor Jenny doesn't want that. All these Democrat mayors, they're Marxists themselves, so they encourage this stuff. They want it to happen. But like the globalists, they want the Antifa and
Comments calling me
Yeah.
a fat this and a fat that and a
So
tubble
fat
art.
shaming
But
works.
but they're right.
Yeah.
They're criticizing me, and they're right about what they're saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, but now like you have the option,
And now we
of
have all these obese people and all these
body
fat people walking
positivity.
around. Back in the day, you would say, "Hey, look at that tub of lard," and everyone would laugh and stuff and say, "Hey, buddy, don't turn around," because a whole day would go by. You know what I'm saying? Remember
Yeah,
Al
so-
Bundy in the shoe store and Married with Children would make fun of
yeah.
fat
Oh,
women?
oh yeah.
Right. But the problem is, if people don't criticize people for these kind of things, it's not like they're trying to hate on them. It's that they're trying to, in a way, it creates that I'll show those guys. I'll go home and do 1,000 push-ups and 1,000 sit-ups every night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like you go to your doctor. Do you want your doctor to tell you that you're just fine and you're beautiful, just the way you are when you're 400 pounds
Mhm.
and you're about to die of, comorbidities? Or do you want him to be honest and straight with you and say,
That's
look,
the
man,
problem.
like,
They've taken criticism out, right?
Yeah,
So
it's-
the fact that you can't say, "Hey, look at that tub of lard," you can't even say
Yeah.
that anymore. It's like, but you're doing the guy a favor in a way. Yeah, you're hurting his feelings. But sticks and stones could break my bones. But he could go home and do 300 push-ups and 300 sit-ups to show us wise guys how he could get himself in shape. And you know what I'm trying to say? So
yeah, and you'll be respected even more for, getting yourself out of that stupor.
Exactly.
Right,
And-
but they don't want you to be happy, and like this is the body positivity sort of movement thing, which is again, it's just a Marxist Frankfurt School tool that's used to it's all about feelings, right? Facts don't matter. It's all about how you make people feel, and there's just so many. It's such a contradiction. There's so many contradiction. Like two-parent households. Apparently, that's a social construct,
Mhm.
but being like 72 genders or whatever, that's real.
Mhm.
That's not a social construct.
The problem is
There's
we
no
can't criticize
consistency.
certain things. That's the problem.
Yeah, because people don't.
Well, because when you criticize, people start to question their own thoughts, right?
Yeah, and they don't want you to question even yourself, right? They implant these ideas and belief systems in you, like the NASA moon landing. It happened. And it's really hard to get these out of people because they're also indoctrinated to believe that they have to always be right. And the best people to indoctrinate are the ivory tower college kids, because they are basically coddled and told that they're special, they're superior because they have a greater intellect, when really the bar is so low anybody can get into college, that shouldn't be in college. And yeah, they're very impressionable people. Just because you're intelligent doesn't mean you can't be in a cult. It doesn't mean you can't be indoctrinated.
Mhm.
In fact, that's a good way to be indoctrinated, because if people feed into your ego in general, then it disarms them, and they open the door to whatever you inject in their brain. And these colleges have, what do people think is going to happen when they send their kids to these colleges? I see these before and after pictures of people, they look really, together, really attractive, not in a sleazy way, but in a very, dignified, very self-respectful kind of way. And, they look like they have their shit together, basically.
Mhm.
Right. And then you see an after picture,
Guys,
and they got
in the
dyed.
comments, he was joking about the 72 genders. He was joking about the 72 genders.
No, I don't think that. No, that's not. Yeah, I'm saying like this is what they believe, not what I believe.
No,
They
no,
believe.
no. We know. We obviously know.
Yeah.
But like criticizing. You see, I've been keeping myself, in decent shape. You saw me today. Do I look like a tumbleard?
No.
See, but do you know why? It's because people constantly say, "Oh, look at Fatty talking on his phone," and you know what? It doesn't hurt my feelings. It's like, that guy is right.
But if you're right all the time, who's going to correct you? If you're right all the time, who's going to correct your behavior? Nobody.
That's right.
Because you're right, and nobody can tell you anything because you know that you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so they've created this barrier to any sort of thought process that's outside of the agenda, because they don't teach you the like I remember way back in the day, this woman, she was a TA, teacher assistant who put on a video of Jordan Peterson, and she even said, "Oh, I don't agree with him, but this, I want to make sure you get the other perspective," and she got fired. She became I think she became a reporter for True North or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they don't want,
you can't
and
question. You can't criticize.
No,
you can't question.
And
But you're allowed to criticize Christianity if you like.
Oh yeah, any you can't. Everything else is taboo. You can criticize. You could probably criticize Buddhists too, and Christians, but you can't criticize anything else.
No, you can't. You can't criticize. You can't ask questions. You can't. You know why? Because maybe some people might wake up. That's a scary thing for the people on the far left. People waking up is not a good sign.
Well, yeah, and again, they feed people data. They don't feed people knowledge. People think, oh, Google it. Well, if you're Googling something, that's not called research. That's called Googling. Like research takes, it could take hours, days, weeks, months. Real research, especially now. Like I've had quite a bit of difficulty finding what I'm actually looking for because they're scrubbing everything.
They are.
And even the egotistical books written by these same people that are causing all of this are hard to come by. I was looking for Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, which is basically an Antifa handbook. Also, Saul Alinsky was a big hero to Hillary Clinton, by the way.
You mean Hill Dog?
Hill Dog. Sorry.
That's
yeah.
okay. No, I like saying Hill Dog. It's okay.
Yeah, the Arkansas queen. But yeah, like these books are definitely getting harder and harder to get, and I recommend people, if you want to preserve knowledge, get hard copies of things.
Yeah.
Don't even bother unless you have an air-gapped computer that's not connected to anything but a CD-ROM drive.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna lose eventually. You're gonna lose that because all these updates on Microsoft on Windows, everything you do is probably being logged. They want nothing but information from you.
Yeah, and then I'm dead in 20 years. And then what did all that information and money and time give them? Nothing. I'm dead. My soul is free. They're not taking my soul.
Yeah, but they want to get into people's minds, and they've tried for centuries to try to figure out what makes people tick. And I can understand that if like, and I brought this up on many shows, I can understand if the human life expectancy, let's say, was 140 years, you could get a lot accomplished in 140 years, right? Let's just say, arguably. Then I could see them trying to track you, see what countries you've lived in. Oh, every 10 years he's living in a different country. He knows 52 languages because he's been around 140 years. I can understand that. I could see them doing that. But our life expectancy is 70 if we're lucky. And with the poisonous food they're feeding us, 65, 70, good. And then you become just carrying your skin around after. So, like, it's for the first 20 years you're being raised. And then, like, why are they going to follow us for 30 years? What's the point? I get what you're coming from. Yes, they want information. They want to get in our heads. They want to kill the individual, and they want a collective, and because the individual is the biggest threat to the collective, and like the thing is, they want your data for basically, well, like there's a lot of reasons why they want it, of course, to but
so what are they going to do when they find out what kind of porn I like to watch, what kind of underwear I wear, and what dating site I met my wife on or whatever?
They'll manipulate you. They'll attempt to manipulate you with that information. right?
Oh,
And
go
and
on.
and they'll give you, if you go on Google or whatever, they'll curtail you into your own little bubble,
Oh, I
and
see
they'll
what you're saying.
feed you.
Then you start seeing
Yeah.
advertisement for the underwear I like to wear and
Yeah,
stuff like
or
that.
even like your political point of view or your interests and hobbies. Like they're basically trying to create a world for people that's completely separate from your identity. Like your identity in 20 years will be an avatar. Your online identity will be of um, will be more important than your actual flesh and blood body, you know,
Mm.
because they want you to forget about your blood, your the reality. They want you to be in an escape realm, you know, where you don't really own anything, everything. You know, they want to put you in the matrix. Like all these movies that come out, they're all called, it's called predictive programming. They're getting people used to, and they're normalizing, and also rubbing it in our face what they want to do in the future. This is why I was saying like Brave New World or Brazil is a good example.
Hmm.
Um, there's plenty of other stuff too. I watched this series called V, like a V. It's like the
I
lizard
remember the
people.
V from 1981.
Yeah, yeah. V, the final battle. There's four parts to it.
Hmm.
You know, and like I'm not saying that we're all like, you know, Alex Jones were, you know, ruled by lizard people, but the concept of totalitarianism is there.
Hmm.
And these people, like you could substitute lizard people with, you know, eugenicist, evil Satanist, Saturnian cult worshiper people,
Hmm.
you know, because they do see themselves as different than everybody else. And again, it's entirely about their genetics, and like they are disgusted by the world at large, and so they want to. It's easier to control with, like, there's just too many of us, so they want to reduce the population, and because it's easier to control the existing population after that and subjugate them.
Hmm.
Because the only reason they want 500 million people around, as per I'm referring to the Georgia Guidestones.
Hmm.
The reason that they want the 500 million people around, one, just in case anything goes wrong, and two, they need slaves, they need servants. You know, like even in a technocratic world with a bunch of technology in it that needs servicing, right? Still needs servicing, and you still need to repair things.
Hmm.
But you know, you like the rich will get their repairs done right away, whereas like us, our slowly people, you know, nothing will work. You'll notice in a lot of sci-fi movies, dystopian sci-fi movies, nothing works properly. And then when you go to try to get it fixed, like 2 months later, you know, you get a phone call saying, "Oh, we're on our way, and can you
Oh,
be
it's kind
here
of like the
between?"
cable guy.
It
We'll be
is,
there
it
within the
is,
next
yeah.
3 months between these times in the next three
Oh
months.
yeah.
So be ready for us.
And a little bit of the Truman Show too, like the word, like true man,
Hmm.
right? True man show, right? He doesn't wake up to reality until he, you know, escapes the show.
Right. That's
And
correct.
and we're already kind of, you know, um we're all the bridging of connections between the matrix and reality is already being developed under, you know, like right under our noses with the black mirrors, i.e. cell phones, the smartphones.
Hmm.
You know, like they're already installing the apps. They already got you sucked into Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. You know, these sites are still getting a crap ton of traffic.
Well, YouTube,
And
I think, is going to be up there until they only want people talking about nothing on there.
oh
Then
yeah, just a
you'll
bunch
see
of
YouTube
vapid
fall off the map.
people indoctrinating you, basically. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about. You know, CBC is great for. They're already starting to do that for their kids programming. They're already indoctrinating kids into Marxist ideology. And you know, it's funny because a lot of these people are real hypocrites. I mean, Karl Marx, he got his maid pregnant, he didn't acknowledge his son, his
Hmm.
illegitimate son, threw his pregnant maid out onto into the German winter on the street.
Hmm.
You know, he mooched off of Frederick Engels, whose father was a factory owner.
Hmm.
So the very people Marx was against, well, Marx was borrowing money from Engels to stay alive. You know, he had like one pair of pants in the house, so only one person could go out at once.
Hmm.
You know, the guy was was a lunatic.
Hmm.
And like even the Marxists knew that like his philosophy needed adjustment, and that's where the Frankfurt School sort of postmodernist philosophy came in. And none of this is based on reality, and it doesn't value facts. You know, it's entirely a, I would say even like a religious thing, because you know, like the tactics they use to indoctrinate people are very cult-like, and they're very collectivist, right? Because like if you're a conservative in university, it's gonna be hell for you, because you're gonna, if you're in a STEM even. You know, if you have to be there for 5 years, you're gonna go insane, because your teacher's gonna every day you have class, your teacher's gonna throw some ideology at you, you know, and you're paying for it too. Like we're paying for our own subjugation through our taxes, through the products that we buy that enslave us. You know, like the phones and even your car or
Yeah, they
you
track
know,
your car, navigation, all that crap. Yeah.
and not even just the tracking, it's the propaganda that made you want the car in the first place. Like you get status, you know, rum, you know.
Hey, did you like my Corvette?
I did, yeah. I didn't really like. I should have looked at it a bit more. I didn't. Next time when I actually don't sleep in, I'll pop by, and I'll probably look at places to rent over there too, because I really like that area. Merritt is really nice. Like I've never seen it in the summer, only the winter, and that kind of, you know, it's not really an accurate, I mean, interpretation of what it could be.
Second week of March, we're mowing lawns here, so it's a good, nice short winter, and we get the fresh water from the mountains. That's the best part, right? So
yeah, no fluoride.
No, there is no fluoride. There is no fluoride. All right, Sean, I'm going to let you go. We've been talking for a long time. Holy crap.
Yeah.
And
yeah, no, I'll keep you going for days.
I know. That's why we want to break this up a little bit and have you on again, like more times, you know, and break it down so we're not, you know, so we could get a good flow of how things are going, right?
Yeah, and I definitely agree with what Eduardo was saying about, you know, DLive. Like DLive is still, like, it's still okay, right? You could do what you know, at least you have the freedom to say what you want to say, right? Whereas, you know, YouTube, like, you know, you either hedge your bets on other things, and or you know, have to go along with the whole thing. And and also Blunt is trying to get me to plug his the Telegram channel that we're in. So,
yeah, what's his Telegram channel? Tell him to put it in the comments.
Yeah, Blunt, stick it in the comments.
Stick it in the comments, dude. It's okay, man. I support you.
Yeah, and I was thinking too, like maybe if you have like build a community, because like something like Telegram, you can put videos from YouTube, BitChute, wherever, Twitter, whatever you want. You could stick it all at least in one place, so nobody gets censored. You know, people can say what they want to say in a more kind of centralized manner. So that's an alternative. Like building I think as Canadians, we should be building communities, you know, and because it's the smaller communities that we have to come together, because we don't expect any help from YouTube or any of these media platforms to allow us to be able to have, you know, meaningful, substantive conversations with each other.
That's right.
Right. So I really recommend that, you know, if you can, even anybody who's listening, like if you have something to say, you know, build up a community, you know, let people know, and let's all get together and fight this, because, you know, I don't want to, knowing what I know, I don't want to stand around and do nothing about this.
Right.
You know, we have to do something about this.
Well, that's why you're on the phone here with me right now.
Yeah, that's part of it. But yeah.
All right. We'll talk soon.
That's it for me.
You take care. Stay out of trouble. We'll see each other soon.
Yeah, you too, Mike.
All right, bye.
Thanks.
So he came to visit me today. Drove a bit out of his way to get up here, and okay, I want to throw this quick movie time here on the show. You guys want to watch this, guys? You guys really want to watch this? Here it goes.
When the government claimed that Canada was back, we didn't realize how far back they expected to take us. Today, Canada was trounced under this leadership by both Ireland and Norway at the UN. So I would ask any minister responsible for this failure to tell us, how much did the government spend on its diplomatic campaign to lose a seat on the Security Council?
Okay, remember that the Security Council, the thing that's going on? Well, here it is, guys. Pay attention to this. I don't care where you're living in the Commonwealth. Watch this.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I have already expressed, Canada can be extremely proud of the campaign that we ran over the past 5 years. I want to continue expressing my gratitude to the officials and the diplomats and everyone in
Is she even answering the damn question?
Canada who worked so hard and was able to showcase Canada's values and our commitment on the world stage.
Why is that guy at the back there shaking his head? Does he even know what she's talking about?
The member for Carleton.
And I will be splitting my time with the member for Mission, Matsqui, Fraser Canyon, and Huron Bruce.
So we lost a lot of money to the UN security seat. They're trying to figure out what's going on.
That wasn't the question. The question was, how much did Canada spend on its failed campaign to secure a Security Council seat? How much?
The Honourable Minister for International Development.
Madam Speaker, the work that Canada does diplomatically is to advance our interests.
No, fangulo. What is she talking about?
Canada is doing on the world stage.
Why is that guy back there shaking his damn head?
Committed to multilateralism.
Why doesn't he tap her on the shoulder and say, you're not answering the damn question?
Committed to continuing to work in the UN system to make sure that we can advance the interests of peace and security globally. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
How much did the government spend on travel and hospitality as part of its global failed campaign for Security Council seat? How much?
Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, as the honourable member knows, Canada's work internationally is to advance human rights. It's to
Why isn't she answering a simple question? This lady probably has more college and university and doesn't have kids because of all the education she got and career she got than all of us here in the chat. Than everybody in this damn chat. We don't have it anywhere near. How can she not answer a damn simple question?
to advance.
And watch this idiot shake his head in the background, right here behind my head. Watch this guy.
Gender equality. It's to fight climate change. We do this work because we believe in a better.
He's on his phone.
Honourable Member for Carleton.
The government spent prodigious fortunes traveling around, splashing dollars in all directions, trying to win over dictators and their diplomats.
I like this guy. I like his tie.
At snazzy cocktail parties around the world. Canadian taxpayers deserve to know how much was spent on this global boondoggle. How much?
Honourable Minister.
This is the sixth time he's asking the same question.
Madam Speaker, diplomatic efforts are done to advance Canadian interests, to advance Canadian values. When it comes to fighting climate change,
Climate change? Stop with the climate change. He looks like this doofus talking about that.
comes to advancing human rights, when it comes to standing up for LGBTQ2I individuals around the world,
What the heck was that LGBTQI?
when it comes to advancing gender equality and ensuring that local women's organizations have the support that they need, that is what Canada is doing.
Member for Carleton.
He's not okay. If you're just joining us, basically this guy's asking how much has the government been spending to get this UN council seat, and how much has the government been spending taxpayers' money on transportation and whining and dining terrorists, or not terrorists, or communist countries and stuff, or communist leaders and stuff, or war, whatever. And they're not getting an answer. And they're applauding that. Climate change?
How many tax dollars did the government spend for each vote it got?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I think the honourable member doesn't quite understand diplomacy and doesn't
Oh my god, diplomacy! Let's see if the guy in the back there shakes his head. Let's see if this idiot back here shakes his head.
understand that Canada
He's not paying attention right now. He's in space.
means that we make sure that we engage and listen with.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
The question was, how much per vote? How much?
The Honourable Minister.
Again, Madam Speaker, the honourable member could seek to explore.
Holy crap. Holy crap. Why is that guy getting up, this guy right here, tapping her on the shoulder and say, answer the damn question?
Or how diplomacy works. It's about engaging. It's about communicating. It's about.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
How much did the government spend trying to win votes in South America, and how many South American votes did it get?
Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, Canada engages with regions all around the world.
Do you know why? All around the world? Let me tell you why. Because it's not her money that they're spending. That's why. Yeah. It's our money that they're spending. Oh, yeah. All right, I'm going to turn this off before I end up putting my fist through the screen. I don't even know what to tell you guys. Here, let me give you guys the link to that if you want to watch that. If you don't like your television, go ahead and watch this or your computer screen. You put your fist through it after 5 minutes. I'm not understanding anything. Like, if I try to pull a stunt like this in a courtroom, or I try to pull a stunt like this somewhere else, I don't know. I have no comment. I don't even know where to go with this. I don't even know where. Yeah. Lord Humungus says they're smug because they know they won't go to jail. They don't have to answer a single question. Axel's asking if I'm getting my special caller in. I said at the beginning of the show, unfortunately, I was supposed to get somebody on the show. I've been trying to get this person on the show. Actually watches the channel. And everybody in the comments will know this person. Everybody in the comments will know this person. Everybody. And spoke to him on Skype today and last week. Basically wants to come on the show, but he's not ready yet. He'll come on. I said, man, you know what? Next time you do something, why don't you just mention me? I'll get like 20,000 subscribers in one day. He's like, I will, but, but someone that watches me, that actually is fond of me or whatever, however you want to put it, watches this show. And I promised I won't use his name. I can tell you it's a him. So I'll put it on the back burner. So, yeah, I don't want to get into more of those videos, man. You can watch those videos for a couple of hours, and then you were ready to put your fist through the screen. All right, let's see. I don't know if the Raven's even watching. I don't even see him in the comments. Probably Ravens somewhere. Let's get Buddy in from Colorado. Let's find out what he thinks about this Canadian Parliament.
Yes, Mikey.
Hey, so you got a first-hand look at Canadian Parliament. You see how screwed we are, right?
Second, my speaker's off. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly, buddy.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
I couldn't hear you.
So you got a first-hand look at Canadian Parliament. We're screwed.
Yeah. It doesn't look any different than Washington, D.C. and the morons in our Congress. To tell you the truth.
Yeah, but this is pretty bad. Like, we're trying to buy votes in different councils in different parts of the world to get these seats and this and that so we could spread our ideologies around the world.
Yeah, but they're bullshit. All of them. Including the ones in the American government.
So the Americans are just as like, I guess, yeah, you know what? I do see Vegetable Joe once in a while saying things, and none of it just goes anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't matter the party. Both parties are bought. They're both brainwashed. They're stupid. They don't follow the Constitution. They don't follow the common law of this country anymore. You know, it's all a technocracy corporation within the Washington District of Criminals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are all super entities, man. They have immunity. You know, they're not our government. They're private corporations. You know, people got to put the pieces together. Anything you see on TV going towards some bullshit cause, one or the other, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, these are all communist ideologies, Marxism. It's been instituted in the American public school system since the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all a cult, man. You know, Leaf doesn't understand these things. He thinks I'm trying to join some side. It's like, dude,
No,
man.
you see, that's what it is. You see, communism. Obviously, we know that it's more of a political theory that came from Karl Marx, the lunatic. That the other caller told us a little bit about Karl Marx, and to me, it's advocating a class war, right?
Karl Marx was a Freemason. What does that tell you? That's instituted in the United States government through the police, the admiralty law. There's two separate laws running in this country, have been for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people are just duped, and then they get duped by the central bankers. They buy into the money printing, the worthless money. It ain't gonna buy you much in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why they're trying to create this technocracy, totalitarian, communist freak show, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sound. There's no soundness in that. There's no soundness in this government anymore. Our police forces have been brainwashed, hijacked. They follow unconstitutional laws every day. They don't read people their Miranda rights when they're being put under arrest. You know?
But this is, you see, what's happening is it's turning into like more of
lawless. It's a lawless state, like Chaz, like BLM.
Are you going to get up to Chaz for us and do some footage?
Dude, if I got a live cam on my Patreon page, directly hooked up to their town square center. I don't need to go up there.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go there and just maybe put a mic in the nightshirt on and get a microphone and just start talking to people.
Mike, I used to like to go to Seattle to visit my sister.
Mm-hmm.
It's turned into a communist shithole for the last 30 years. And it's a high-tech communist shithole ran by Bill Gates and his evil bunch. Me as an American, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of all of it. I don't want to see advertisements on TV, brainwashing programs, predictive programming movies. No, it ends. It's done. I know where my rights are. I know where I stand. I'm going towards sound money. I'm getting away from their web of fucking banks. Excuse my French.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. That's how they're controlling everybody, Mike. That's why people have to stop using their shit.
This Chaz thing, this ideologic movement. Like, what is the ultimate goal? Like, are they pushing towards the establishing some sort of communist society?
No, they're useful idiots. They're pushing for the central bankers so they can maintain control in a failing currency world of fiat bullshit under that lie.
So what they want to structure is some sort of like a common ownership and the whole like type of communism way of means of production and the absence of the social classes, right? And then basically using the state.
Exactly. That's what the little guy that thinks communism so great is. But it never turns into that.
No, it doesn't. That's what they're trying to, right?
No. It turns into a country like China with the CCP running a totalitarian technocratic slave state and paying everybody additional bullshit money.
And they burn churches.
That they create through an algorithm. That's the enslavement. People don't see this, man. That's why I've been trying to tell people, get off the digital bullshit. Mm-hmm. That's what they're going to try to enslave you with.
Mm-hmm. So basically, the new school of thought, okay, is the digital. Yeah. What you're saying, the new school of thought is the the new is the digital stuff, because it tries to sway political ideologies.
Yes. What is everything since the computer's been invented? It's code. It's ones and zeros.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna try to enslave you with that very fucking code.
Whoa! Stop swearing, dude. I'm gonna get shut down.
Sorry, but
I know you don't mean. I know you're riled up, but I could get in a lot of trouble, right?
The kind of stuff I'm trying to pump into everybody's head around the world. I don't care about governments. I don't care about banks. I don't care about big media and their communist propaganda for 40 years out of Hollywood. Okay? These people are brainwashed. These elite people that run this globalist system are brainwashing 99.9% of every human being on this earth.
Well, but haven't people like these people today? I'm talking because we have the benefit of living now in the future. Let me get to the context of my question. Didn't they realize that this planned administrative command economy didn't work in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s up into the 80s? Didn't they realize that this command economy, administrative state capitalism didn't work back in the day? Why do they think it's going to work now? That's the thing.
But it worked for long enough for them to get rich off of it. That's the whole point.
Okay, I see where you're going with this now.
That's why they're dragging. Why do you think they're dragging out this collapse now, the bubble? Because it collapsed in 2008. Nobody sees that. You got to follow the math and the money and the markets and what these in the stock markets, what these people do, because they are vicious killers and they want everybody dead that doesn't think exactly like them or does not have the same social status in this world right now because of their command and control systems.
Well, who's going to clean their bathrooms if they do that? Who's gonna keep up the infrastructure if they do that?
You know what? That's their problem because they're the ones that created this mess to begin with.
Well, it's happening to our major cities. Everyone's leaving major cities. We just read the article on Zero Hedge. People leaving New York. Goodbye.
Yeah, well, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
What kind of life is that to be stuck in some kind of, condo box in the sky, making X amount of whatever, never being able to progress or forward your own personal wealth or experience, and you're basically, as far as Americans are concerned, we've been the backbone of the entire world since the end of World War II. We created all the industry, manufacturing, and then the idiots in our own government and these banks and these central planners decide they want a communist world order. So what do? 35 years ago, they ship all the middle class jobs off to China, because it was cheaper for their bottom line on a piece of math, a piece of digit that meant
they brought in all the middle class jobs during the Civil War to prop up the North, right? Then they started bringing in more and more, and then in World War II they started bringing in a bit more too, because there was no one to work the farmers' fields during the Second World War, so they didn't have.
America got dragged into World War II.
World War One.
Exactly. So that they always dupe our military to go fight the wars for these elitists, these bankers. All wars are banker wars. You want the cream of the crop, buddy? That's where it's at. You want the root of the problem? That's where it's at. Racism, BLM, communism, capitalism, all the other things, meaningless. These people at the top do not care as long as they can maintain control. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Well, you know what? I took some time yesterday, Lord, and I looked at the Soviet Union, okay? I took a good look at the Soviet Union, and it's one of the biggest organized communist states that existed, one of the bigger ones that I kind of looked at them and their history, and the Soviet economic model, Marxism, Leninism, and all that stuff. And they just self-bankrupt themselves. The way they set up that state capitalism, it didn't work out. Like, no matter which way you put it, there's no way of it working out in the end.
Yeah, well, I
It
don't
just doesn't
necessarily
work.
think
It's not that I'm against communism. I am against communism. It's not because I'm against communism I'm saying this. It just doesn't mathematically make sense in the end.
it doesn't, Mike. And there's another economic rule out there too that all fiat currencies fail. There's not been one fiat currency that has ever survived over 5,000 years already of printing.
I think you know
know.
what to save the West, to save the Commonwealth, all the English-speaking countries. I think they need to put back the working class people in power. I think the working class people need representation from the working
Well,
class.
that's what the document says. That's what the U.S. Constitution says.
That's
It
what we
says
need right
the
there.
people,
Right there.
not we the government, not we the international government,
Not we the banks.
not we the international banker that's fleeced America through its own money supply for the last 75 years, since the end of, or not actually before that, since 1913, since the inception of the Federal Reserve System. They steal our buying power, and they have gradually through that very fiat currency. It's not even a silver certificate, Mike. I can't even go to a local bank and get my ounce of silver, which I know is real money, for one of those paper bullshit notes. You see what I'm saying?
Money's minted, not printed.
That's correct. And you know what? That's the dilemma you're seeing right now too, because people aren't seeing all the bullion wars that are going on between all these big players right now. Nobody's focused on that. I'm focused on that. Exactly. So if you want the whole kit and caboodle, I just handed it to your audience on a silver platter.
I know you.
And I don't need to leave to tell me what I should join or what I should be, because I'm an American.
You don't need leaves to do that. No, of course.
And that's all I am. I don't believe in his system anymore. It's failed on all levels across the board. You know? And I'm just trying to, it makes me so upset because people just do not see the obvious when it's staring them right in the face. You know? Do I want to go invade this place in Chaz and use the military to do that? No. Because at the end of the day, yeah, they might be, they're Americans. They're ideologically screwed up in the head. But, nature will take its course, man. I say let them sit there. I say let them try to build something out of that. They wouldn't even know where to be. They wouldn't even know where to begin, Mike.
They wouldn't even know how to partition the money to get the streets clean. They wouldn't even figure out how to properly start logistifying the city. They wouldn't even know how to get the power on. They wouldn't know.
They had to call the city of Seattle trash department to come pick up their trash.
Yeah, because they don't have they don't know where to put it. They don't know, you know what I'm saying? They don't have an idea of how that stuff is.
They don't know. And neither does that governor of Seattle, of Washington, or that city mayor. Complete buffoons. These are the kind of idiot leaders that people are following. People like Bill Gates, that all he cares about is to get rich off of your stupidity. Do you see what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I know what you mean, Jelly Bean.
You know the warlord of Chaz, or whatever his name is. He was handing out AR-15s to some of his followers.
That's nice.
This is going to get bloody real quick, because for one, half of those morons don't even know how to operate a weapon. Two, that they might be one of the ones that just got killed in that news story that you were talking about. I don't know all the details of what's going on in there, but this is all deep-seated financial warfare. At the end of the day, all it is about power, and people do not care about other human life. And that's a sad fact, that they would let something as stupid as a worthless piece of money get in the way.
Bunch of paper.
A bunch of paper. What are they dying and fighting for, man? What's to gain? Who gains? Who benefits? You're not going to see bikers go up there. I think they're a little bit smarter than that. Maybe the Trump bikers. I don't know, because that's their cult leader. But this is nothing that America is about or has ever been about.
That's right. I know
America.
That. I've lived in your country for almost 4 or 5 years and 2 months, 3 months.
And to leave, America has been a traditional country. We had it stolen by stealth by these communist operators from different countries trying to change our ways and our laws.
You know why? It's because America is the last beacon of bastion light. And if America goes, the Constitution gets changed, every other country is going to follow in suit and start heading towards draconian darkness. But they're not taking my soul.
No, they're not taking your soul. Jesus Christ has your soul, man. You're saved. You know?
He's not that's one thing they can't take from me is my soul.
They're not taking my freedom either, dude. You know, I will die on my feet with my rifle in hand, and I will use it to protect myself and my countrymen. Period. End of story. This banking globalism garbage economy, it's
money
going
printers.
down the toilet. Yeah. You
know what,
why?
Lord? We should get in the ink business.
Yeah.
We should sell these money printing companies ink, and actually we can make a fortune selling ink to them.
Exactly. Why isn't that commodity going through the roof with the trillions upon trillions of so-called funny money
That's
being printed?
That's a lot of ink, dude. I mean, we should do a show on how many stadiums full of ink you need to print that money.
It's all funny notes, man. They don't even have those trillions in circulation. That's another part.
Yeah.
You know, they just add it to a computer screen in the little basement of the Wall Street, the bank of the Federal Reserve of New York. You don't think Steve Mnuchin, the bankruptcy foreclosure king from IndyMac Bank, doesn't sit there all the time and he's rigging the other side of this market? Yeah. You know, stop with the manipulation. That's what's killing this country.
Well, there's a bunch of guys in the UK now going to have to testify or have to go to court because of spoofing the aluminum markets.
Yeah, that's just part of it, man. The big markets, the LBMA fix, the London gold pool, all those things, they've been rigging precious metals forever and hoarding them. You know, they're sitting in the Rothschild vaults. They're sitting in the Bank of England vaults, in the Swiss vaults. Give the people back their money. You know?
I know.
We don't need these systems because all they do is lead to destruction. And it doesn't matter what they try to change politically. It's a joke.
It's a joke.
And it's gonna end a sick joke and a sad joke. And a lot of people are gonna lose their lives over this.
That's right.
And it's not worth it.
I know.
Just
you're done with playing games. It's time to, get some of the working class, in charge and actually start, I don't care. Oh, but this guy doesn't have a degree. Good. He doesn't have a degree. Does he know how to read English? A little bit. Give him the job, It's time to put people like that in power.
You know how many idiots are academics that make policies for all these different...
Oh, they have no idea if they're tricking or treating.
No, they're just stupid.
Right. I know. They don't know if they're tricking or treating. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Oh, they studied all economics in the Keynesian thought pool of Marxism. They think it works.
It doesn't work. We could go back to the Soviet, the whole Soviet state and look at it. It did not work.
Yes. Why would you continue something over and over and over that has failed over and over and over and over, time and time again? That's the definition of insanity. That's what Einstein even told. The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and over
and expecting a different result.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know what to tell people, but they're being distracted by this technological terror through the computer, through the propaganda, through the algorithms.
And the new thought school now is your digital technology, is the new thought school.
Yeah.
It's not in a class anymore.
Nope.
Schools
That's
of
how they're
thoughts.
enslaved. That and the medical tyranny, making people wear masks. All they got to do is claim, "Hey, we got this virus out there."
Yeah, but they penalize the people. The doctors say, "Hey, don't stop these protests and riots because of COVID," and all these doctors are signing these manifestos to saying, "No, let them protest. We need this protest." But
why is that?
But they get a Trump rally. They get a Trump rally, and CNN's all over it like stormtroopers into Poland to bash the guy.
why are the doctors in the medical community, why are they doing this?
Because they know the truth.
No. They're getting everybody because they get $13,000 for every COVID patient they can mark down.
Well, that's a lot of cake, dude.
That is a lot of cake. But do I think doctors should be paid well? Absolutely. But they should get back to traditional medicine, as Leaf likes to say. Traditional medicine.
And stop.
Not this gobbledygoo, Bill Gates, Beyond Meat, vaccinated 5G tracking, tracing.
Chemtrail.
Yeah, you see where this is going. Yeah. Stop what you're doing. How about that?
Yeah.
How about all these world criminals stop what they're doing and stop trying to think that they know how to fix problems, because they don't. They're not going to fix something that God created. Let it be, man.
Yeah.
Stop with the wars. Stop
the
with the
wars
money.
are just senseless. They're not going anywhere, and we're realizing that. People have been realizing after the Korean conflict how a lot of these wars were going nowhere. Then the Vietnam started, and then all this other garbage started, and it's just pissing off the working class people. So it's just.
But what does everybody always focus on, Mike? It doesn't matter if it's in government, in politics, in banking, in work, in industry. What is the number one reason why people are always, what's their number one concern?
Money.
Exactly.
Money.
Everything goes back to that. That is their God. That's their religion. I like gold and silver because it's honest money. It's God's money.
So what do you think of that box, dude?
Box is sweet, man.
That's a sweet box. I'm going to mail you out that bat when I get some time. I'm going to get a tracking for you.
The Lord created bats. They are good. They eat mosquitoes.
No, I'm talking about the bat coin that you want.
I know, but I like bats. Bats are good.
They're good, yeah. All right, Lord. Lord, I'm going to let you go, buddy. And
Alrighty.
We will talk very soon.
Yes, God bless.
God bless
As
you.
usual. All right.
That is Lord Humongous, getting pretty hot there, hot-tempered, and I get where he's coming from. I get where he's coming from. I totally get where he's coming from. I'm surprised not to see the Raven here tonight. Very surprised that he's not even in the comments. A lot of people are not getting notifications, so it is what it is, right? So we got alien invasion. Let's get Mitch, our man Mitch there in Oregon real quick on the show. Mitch?
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
How you doing, buddy?
All right, there's a talk open.
All right. Can you hear me? Hold on, let me call you back, okay there?
Okay.
All right, I hear you perfect now. I hear you perfect. All right, let me call him back. Let's see what my man Mitch has to say here. Keeps asking me to rate the app. I'm using it. It's good. Leave me alone. He's having internet troubles. Not sure why. Huh. Okay, that's weird. That's very weird, actually. It happens. I mean, they want the technology out there to indoctrinate us, the school of thought. And give us a little input on what's happening there. Let's get, I guess, Supreme Cannon on the. Let's see if he's. I still see him in the comments here, so he's alive and well in the comments. Let me see if he picks up. Come on, Supreme.
What is going on, Michael?
Nah, I see you. I see you very active there in the comments.
Yeah, comments are lit tonight. It's fun.
So let me ask you a question. So now that I've got you on the show, this is actually, am I losing, let's go a little bit off, let's go on to a new topic here. Am I losing my mind? Because I'm looking at something here, and I think this is a big deal.
Okay.
This border dispute with China pushes India closer to some of Beijing's top rivals. Next, hold on. Why India-China border conflict is music to Pakistan's ear, and differences should be resolved peacefully. Nepal wades into India-China border dispute, and how China and India could came to lethal blows. And there's a lot of scrimmages and a lot of people. So I know we'll go back to the Sino-India border dispute that happened way back. When was that? 1962. It started in 59 when what's his name from Tibet had to exile to Tibet. The Dalai Lama had to exit during an uprising.
Yeah,
and
the Dalai Lama.
The Chinese went ahead.
Right, yeah.
You know what the Chinese did? They actually went ahead and say that he was kidnapped by the Indians.
Oh,
they actually said that in their propaganda.
I'm not surprised. No, they're not going to take responsibility for that. They're going to, as far as they're concerned, it's just a peaceful peacekeeping operation. They've accused the Tibetans of all kinds of atrocities against the Han Chinese over the years. Since the area and its history is thousands of years old, some of them might even be true.
Now, let me ask you, am I out of my mind thinking that this might be a big deal, or this could go sideways real quick? Because there have been 23 Indians dead on the Indian side, and I think 6 Chinese have died in scrimmages in the last 48 hours. Sorry.
Yeah, there's problems. Yeah, there's definitely a problem there. Now, the Chinese escalated it because it's kind of shaped like fingers, that border area.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that, Axel. Yeah, because Tibet is in the Himalayas, and it's probably the source of some major Chinese water supply. Yeah,
that's
correct. I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. It'd be like the Golan Heights, right? Like Israel wants the Golan Heights because it's strategic, but it's also the headwaters of the Jordan River.
So there's been quite a few series of border scrimmages right now, and there's been very little on the news, very little talk. And we know what happened. Well, it started in 59. 62, it escalated to very big proportions where each side lost anywhere from 20 to 25,000. And it took till pretty much November 1962 for a ceasefire. But I'm just thinking that if this reignites, which I think it might, I think this might get a little bit more escalated than it did back in the 60s. I think now with the modern technology and this and this and that, and with America easily jump into maybe support India because of the situation that America and China are in right now, could trigger a bigger problem, or am I just losing my mind?
Well, I think the problem already exists. You know, China has become, since this COVID thing has become, and a global shutdown and economic disruption is starting to become kind of an international pariah. I have a feeling that if Pakistan is happy about this, and of course Pakistan they have their own border disputes with India on the western side of the subcontinent.
Right.
And those have been going on for a long time. Several wars have been fought there too.
In Kashmir.
In Kashmir, yeah, Jammu and Kashmir. There have, I could see China perhaps having an understanding with Pakistan, and maybe between the two of them, they're just trying to box India around the ears to some kind of disruption,
right?
Possibly to start some kind of, because I'm not sure how much cross-border trade there is between China and India. They're economic rivals, and obviously, you know, being the two largest powers in Asia, easily. They're eternal rivals. This territory, I think this is just a demonstration by China. I don't think they want a war right now. I don't think they could afford it. Their army is not really conducive to absorbing high casualties. I mean, most of the men of military age are only children in this particular generation because of the one-child policy. They're not You know, they would have no chance against a Western army of equal size. Let's put it that way. I think it's some kind of a demonstration. It's probably something to do with cooperating with Pakistan.
Okay, let's argue that. So demonstration.
Okay.
Why would China do this demonstration now when it's not looking good geopolitically or economically and not looking good in many fronts? Why would they do this now?
Well, it could be desperation, right? Like Argentina in the early 80s had major economic problems, and that's part of the reason why the Galtieri military junta that was ruling the country at the time decided to go on an adventure and try to take back the what they called the Las Malvinas Islands, right? The Falkland Islands. They decided that they were going to try to distract, create a surge of patriotism. At least that's how I see it, by occupying those islands, because it diverted attention from domestic issues, and it was a severe, it's a sticking point with Argentina. So it makes the military junta look good. I mean, they put 10,000 soldiers, like they put for peacetime, an enormous force into the Falklands, probably trying to force the UK into some kind of negotiation. Of course, Maggie Thatcher wasn't having it, and the Royal Marines and the other forces that went there cut through them like butter. India and China, it's mostly regular forces. I think that China might be trying to increase some kind of negotiating position, because they just moved into an area that was generally understood to be occupied by India. It was kind of a not necessarily a demilitarized zone like in Korea, but it was kind of an understanding. All right, we'll keep to our little fingers of territory, and you keep to your little fingers of territory.
Well, no, it's claimed that China is like 23 miles into Indian territory, and
yeah, well, it's in the disputed territory, right?
That was the territory that China gave up after they won that war, and they surrendered that war the second that India was going to call for help from the United States. China backed off and they apologized and they ran out.
Yeah, well, China hasn't won a lot of wars, have they? In 1959, late 50s, early 60s, there was also a border dispute. Yeah, well, there was the Korean conflict. There was also a conflict with the Soviet Union. Right, and there was a border war. It didn't last very long, and casualties weren't high, but that was in the late 60s. China hasn't been what you'd call militarily successful, really. And in 1979, they invaded Vietnam, and the Vietnamese army, of course, had a lot more combat experience in the late 70s than the Chinese army, and they basically slaughtered them and drove them back. It was inconclusive. So I just think that China is kind of experiencing the same thing that the Russians experienced for a long time, the feeling of being surrounded by enemies. And they're probably just trying to seize some territory for some negotiating points with India. I have a feeling it will be resolved with some kind of trade deal. You know, I don't think the One Belt, One Road initiative is going to succeed if India
it'll fall apart.
It'll fall apart because India won't cooperate. So it may be a demonstration of strength, maybe to get some other Central Asian nations on board. It's a fairly easy thing. I don't think it will explode into a full-scale war because both sides are armed with nuclear weapons.
Right. Okay.
Because
that's what I'm very concerned about that. Very concerned because there's a lot of big protests happening with the Janta Party, and they're protesting against China and Mumbai, and there's quite a few people showed up to that to burn Chinese flags and Chinese literature and Chinese presidential photos, and like big time.
Absolutely, yeah. No, they're not. They're not pleased, obviously.
So it's kind of good to see how India is seeing the enemy and recognizing it and telling its people. Where in Canada, it's so different. It's like they don't want us to know who the enemy is and don't want us to. You know what I'm trying to say, Supreme?
Yeah, well, there's a media blackout on everything, but probably the BLM riots right now. I don't think there's a whole lot of chatter in most Western media about anything else. And again, it's an election year. This is all about Trump. Anything not specifically to do with Trump isn't going to make the evening news unless an actual mushroom cloud appears somewhere. So yeah, most information I get, you're getting from overseas media on Twitter, things like that. But it's maybe that's the case, Mitch. Maybe Vietnam did cede a bit of territory, probably just so China could save some face. And that's a problem that you have in Asian cultures too, especially one with the Han Chinese. I mean, if you don't give them something to preserve their dignity, they may have no choice but to pursue till the whole place is a smoking ruin. It's a strange culture that way.
I'm looking at here on RT, our friends over at RT, and see. Let's go to article scan what they're saying on RT here. If there's anything, so they have a ton of. Oh, okay. Hold on a sec. There's something here. No place for Lenin. Monument to Russian revolutionary erected in Germantown despite vehement opposition from the city authorities. Okay, that's something else. I'm just trying to see if I could find anything on what's happening with this Siberia. Wow, store attack was unprovoked. Black man beats Macy's white employee over alleged. So what, you see, America, I don't understand why they black and white. Why don't they just say a man beats Macy's employee over? They always want to put that out there, that narrative, eh?
Absolutely, yeah.
They don't want to say...
They're propagandists. They're not journalists. They're propagandists.
Yeah.
They're just doing their job.
And if it's a Christian man, they'll say a Christian man today. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, yeah. No, it's anti... they don't regard Islam as a threat, right? I mean, they obviously don't. If they did, then you wouldn't have LGBT supports Islam, that kind of a thing. It's just an interesting polyglot group. The only goal is power, and everybody that participates in that clump, that Borg, if you will, believes that they're going to get what they want out of it. They were all going to be severely disappointed, because in the end, they're not the group that actually creates all the wealth that they're hoping to divide up. Right. So yeah, the starvation and the most ardent revolutionaries will be the ones stood against the wall. There's just a massive, paid under the table, useful idiots.
Wow, look at all this military movement here. So we have a headline from today: nobody enters our borders. Modi says after India-China clash. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on Friday that India's borders are secure and its military is capable of defending them. The statement that came after 20 Indian soldiers were killed this week in a frontier clash with the Chinese troops. Nobody has entered our border. So why doesn't Canada, who's a democratic, free country that doesn't believe in racism and all this stuff, why don't they condemn the Chinese for doing this? Like, why doesn't another country stand up besides India, say, "Hey, what are you doing in India? What the hell's wrong with you? What's happening here?"
Sure. Well, they don't want to get involved in this at all. They will not want it covered by any of the media, which of course they all basically own in this country now. I mean, there's a lot of people in Ottawa that have made a lot of money out of China. Benefited a great deal from interacting with China, and a lot of it, I think, would be called treason in saner times. And the same with India. There's a great deal of time. Of course, Trudeau's trip to India wasn't a success, right? And China basically has that guy in their back pocket. But there's a strong Indian component in Canada too, and has been since the turn of the 20th century. Yeah. So they don't want to get involved. They're just going to say, well, I hope for peace or reconciliation. I mean, we don't even have what you'd call soft power. We certainly don't have any kind of hard power here. We have nothing to do with military intervention. We might send a squadron of CF-18s to help bomb whatever NATO's going after this week. But beyond that, no, we're not a force for freedom in the world.
So, okay, let's go back to that UN whatever seat that Canada's taxpayers paid. I don't know how much because we couldn't get the answer. You were watching that video, right?
Yeah.
So what the heck is going on? I know you said it in the comments. So go ahead and reiterate what you were saying in the comments there. It's like, what the hell?
Sure. Well, the only way I mean, I'm sure it was a ruinously large amount of money that was spent trying to glad hand and bribe to get enough votes so Justin could be on the UN Security Council.
But isn't that
Why?
illegal?
Well, the answers were couched in terms of diplomacy, right? Canada advancing our values on the national stage, and of course, she cited climate change and LGBTQ, which.
But isn't that dangerous to incite to other countries?
Well, it's not wise.
Right.
I don't think that's diplomacy. In the end, what you have is Canada trying to sell woke values to non-woke countries. And the whole idea is just glad handing so that Justin can have a seat on the UN. Why people think the UN has the power that they believe it does is beyond me. The UN is sitting in New York City. It's on American territory. America is the chief funder of it all. Right? In the end, they don't have a military. They're not going to occupy anything. The whole idea, the only reason the UN has any power at all is because they have their bought-off minions in most Western governments that will just order the police to stand down if something happens. The UN is not going to come here and occupy America or Canada. That's not going to happen. They have the countries involved in it. They send military forces on peacekeeping missions to parts of Africa, for example, and it's mostly just bribery and rape and child trafficking. That wouldn't go here. The average citizen in America is probably better armed than most of the UN. I don't know why this insistence on it, other than they actually believe their own BS. As I've said many times myself, they live in a bubble and they have bubble thinking. And they don't really care about people outside those bubble, and they don't think they have to be concerned about them because in their thinking, they control the police, the military, and the media, and people with contrary opinions will be savagely punished for attempting to defend their own property or rights.
Big Rob New Zealand says Trump should kick the UN out. Do you think he should do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
well,
I just think I don't even know why anybody would be part of some sort of that organization. I guess the United Nations. And this is just my opinion. Is a way to get to the new world order, the new world, not the law of the jungle, but the law of the land. Remember? At the UN meeting.
I think the UN is just another Luciferian pipe dream. I don't think it's really. It hasn't really succeeded in any way. It's a place for corrupt bureaucrats to go and finish out their careers. You sit there and bicker with each other. You have a human rights council that has countries like Iran and China and Saudi Arabia on it. Like it couldn't possibly be more of a joke. And
but their main goal is to maintain international peace, right? And hopefully develop friendly relations among nations and other stuff like that, right?
Well, that in and of itself is a noble goal, right? Like if you can solve something without bloodshed,
right?
If you can do some backroom dealings and all the rest of it, if that means that towns don't get burned and children don't get taken as slaves and all the rest of it, then you know what? It's like Churchill said, it's better to jaw than war. And I tend to agree. But peace in this world is only relative anyway. I mean, what peace is there if the lack of gunfire going off costs you your soul, and it costs you your belief in your own family and your own community and your own people? Right. I mean, in most of the world, the UN will respect that. The one place they don't respect it is in the Western world, because as far as they're concerned, we're already Babylon, and they could do what they want here. So because they don't have to listen to us, right? Because they own the media.
Right. So it started off with the Allies. Then the Allies became the League of Nations. Then the League of Nations were severely ineffective. And then we had, just after World War II, we had the United Nations was established after World War II. I think it was in San Francisco, where a bunch of governments met up, and they started charting out ways for humanitarian aid and growing and upholding international law and all that stuff. It sounds like a good deal, right? But
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it was. I think the charter was actually signed in San Francisco. I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was. It wasn't a tough sell. I mean, we'd just come out of World War II, and we came out of World War II with one, and then by 1950, two powers, major powers in the world with nuclear weapons.
Because the League of Nations faltered pretty bad.
The League of Nations failed mostly because America, Woodrow Wilson wanted the U.S. to join. But the American people themselves had no appetite for it. They didn't even want to get involved in World War One, and there really weren't enough good reasons, as far as I'm concerned, for the U.S. to get involved in World War One. I think the Zimmerman telegram was put on, but it was mostly because Germany looked like they were going to win, and if they did, then that means that all of those massive loans that American banks and industry had made to the British and French war machines wouldn't be paid.
Right.
So that had to be safeguarded. I mean, I would like to think it was to make the world safe for democracy, but I have to say, although I'm not a fan of any other system, I know my whole life that democracy has its problems too. People don't govern themselves very well.
Did you know that Woodrow Wilson in 1919, you're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. I was reading this the other day. He actually won the Nobel Peace Prize that year. Woodrow Wilson, the man who sold out Americans by introducing the Income Tax Act and what's that other one? And starting to remove America off the gold standard slowly.
Yeah, slowly. Yeah. The FR, that bank that shall not be named. Yes.
And that was during, what was it called? It was called the Paris Peace Conference, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And then, like, and he was like hailed as the architect of this thing. Like, I mean, you know. Now let's go back to square one here. So why did Trudeau want to get a seat in that thing? What was the big deal? Why did he have to get on this? Why did he have to get there? Like, I mean, what was his point? What was he going to try to do when he got there? What like maybe paraphrase it in a way where we could like see it through his eyes. What did he want?
Well, I believe the UN is just basically a big money laundering operation anyway. So I think that what he basically wanted was a place where he would have diplomatic immunity and a perceived sense of importance without any actual responsibility. And that's all. I don't think he really... he must know better than anybody. The UN isn't going to bring about world peace at any time soon. I think it was just... if you're a UN ambassador, I think you have diplomatic immunity across the board. You can go to New York. You don't have to worry about what happens in Canada. I mean, between him and his old man and the party he represents, I mean, there's a trail of BS behind them deep enough to fertilize the Sinai Desert. You know, it would be an opportunity to get out of Canada and stay out of Canada.
I see. Because I remember I brought it up on the show like a few months ago that a lot of these politicians that we're seeing on these, like in the Parliament Hill or up in Parliament there, they're not going to be. I think they're just going to flee Canada for the sake of just getting out of here because it's turned into a technocratic, delusional vortex of like weirdism, and a lot of things. I think a lot of those politicians are going to get the heck out.
I think they will too, Mike. Yeah, I think they're going to take any opportunity they can to just disappear. Yeah, I mean, we ran a $250 billion deficit. Our federal debt is $1 trillion.
Did you watch that Mexican guy video I did about the 10 billion or the trillions of dollars missing?
I actually still have them on my watch list. I didn't get to them.
Okay,
sorry.
No big deal.
But
it's a few minutes long. It's just kind of a joke, but it's serious because it's serious, you know.
Well, what really disturbs me about all of it is the number of people that still insist that we should have free this and free that and all of these extensive social programs and, you know, social justice extremism. And the reason for justifying it is because we're a rich country and we can afford it. We're $1 trillion of debt. Okay, Canada as a fiscal polity is finished. We're done. You know, I am not going to agree insofar in any way that I have control over my own personal situation. I'm not going to agree to any more transfer of any of the fruits of my labor to these people that I could be giving to my grandchildren. I'm gonna do like the Argentines. I'm gonna hide it.
Rich as an Argentine.
Rich is an Argentine. That's right. Our first video. Yeah, yeah, and that's the same thing. I mean, when the law and order broke down in the Argentine government, when the corruption really began to set in deep, yeah, Argentina ceased to be. It's just been a failed state for 80 years.
Well, it's gone broke 3 times in the last decade. And the problem is they see the Argentine government's being smart. Oh, we're going to make it illegal to transfer your money into American dollars. Oh, and if you go to Brazil and buy gold from the bullion exchangers, you could be charged and fined at the Argentine border. And we'll confiscate your gold.
Of course. They'll just say that. Yeah, you're not allowed to exit the game. You're stuck in the game. Well, the only solution to that at that point is violent revolution, and they're going to get it. Yeah, how do you stop that, Supreme? You mean wealth transfer? Well, you have to do it like the Argentines. The fruits of your labor. Yeah, there's a certain amount of protection money you have to pay them in the form of taxes to keep them from, burning your house and taking you away. But beyond that, you don't have to support their system. Every dollar you spend is a vote. Where are you spending them? Every time you do vote, who do you support? I mean, your money is a vote too. If you have a third party, and I just say this generally, not just to specifically address Layla, although that is a good question, Layla. Yeah, if you support a particular political ideology and you want it to survive, they don't need a lot of money to do it. If a bunch of people got together and sent them $5 a month, it's just people don't do that. They would rather complain. They feel better complaining than actually doing something.
Be productive. Can you give me a little lowdown on Chaz or whatever the hell the name is this week? How do you feel about that? And are you going to go out? Are you going to book a flight out there to the new? I call it from the movie The Red Dawn, a safe zone, not a safe zone. They call it demilitarized zone, or what did I call it before? I called it.
I forget now, but yeah, you bet. Yeah, I'm growing out my Snow White dreadlocks right now. You betcha. Gonna go there and fight the power, man.
And maybe get some footage for us. And man, I wish this channel actually had real money. And I'd be like, hey, Supreme, what are you doing? I'm gonna be free for 4 days. Do you want to fly down in Seattle and cover this for us?
Yeah,
dude, that'd be awesome. I'm not kidding.
No kidding. I strongly suggest we don't take the Corvette. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't take the Corvette. No, but I'm saying you fly out there. Yeah. Oh, actually, Seattle's like we could drive there. Actually, it's so close to us. Sorry, I'm thinking you're out east. I'm sorry. I'm just a little bit of a. My brain is yeah. We could drive there. I'm saying for example, something happening down in Florida or something in Texas. We fly you down. 3 nights comped room, go out, get some with the microphone, say, hey, I'm here from Mike in the Night. What do you guys think about this? You know what I'm saying? And being live on Skype, that'd be awesome, dude.
You betcha.
And I'll be here on this side, getting the transmission and showing people.
Yeah. Hi, I'm from Canada. We're from the Great Woke North, and yeah, we wanna find out what the revolution is doing here, my people. You betcha. We'll get ourselves some college-age groupies to take us around, introduce us to the people, and yeah, we're Canadians. Yeah, we're here to help, eh? Yeah, big fun. We'll go around. I don't know what kind of disguise we could wear. I guess just not.
No, everyone wears a mask. Weekend. Just wear a mask.
Oh, they wear a mask. That's right. Yeah, get a mask with Che Guevara on it and a beret, and there you go. Yeah, we'll be in like Flynn. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. I don't care for vegan food though, so we're gonna have to get some
Burger King.
Get some Burger King. That's right. Get some Burger King. And it's okay. It's Beyond Meat. We're good. Yeah. They'll
what is Burger King Beyond Meat now?
I don't know. I think they all offer Beyond Meat now. I don't know.
I mean, you can't get a real Whopper with real meat anymore.
Oh, I think you can.
Okay.
Beyond Meat and all that. That's not gonna last. It's not even economically sustainable. It's not going to last. It's just an agenda. It's just another overpriced startup. I'm not concerned about stuff like that. No, where Chaz is concerned, a lot of people, as soon as their cell phones can't get charged, as soon as they're bored, as soon as they get creeped out enough, when there's enough sexual assaults and probably 1 or 2 more murders, most of the college kids will just go home. And that'll be the end of it.
And you
Once
see
all the useful
the
energy is
murder
gone.
rates, supreme in major cities are going up like crazy.
Yeah, well, the cops are standing down, eh? I mean, they're not really allowed to intervene anyway. So it's just not gonna, it's not gonna fly. Like I understand in Atlanta over Thursday, Friday night, there were a bunch of cops that called in with the blue flu. They just didn't show up to work. Now, Atlanta Police Department maintains that there were enough officers to respond to all the calls, but it sounds like there were several precincts, like large areas of Atlanta.
Atlanta's
that
a
had
big city.
It's a big city, and there was no police coverage at all. So I would not be shocked. Same with New York, right? Like, but if you look at New York City, I mean, before Giuliani came along, New York was a crap hole.
Yeah, the packing district there, that area, those areas there were just absolute like skid row areas, just 3 blocks of the packing district. It was a huge chunk of New York. You could have got a hacksaw and cut it off and let it float down the, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah. It just looked like Detroit, large areas that used to be bustling industrial and commercial areas that were all taken down, and the murder rates were enormous. The subways were all covered with graffiti, and they were dangerous to ride on after supper time.
Mm-hmm.
You had Curtis Sliwa and the Guardian Angels. You had these guys that would pair off. They didn't carry weapons because, of course, you weren't allowed to have guns, but they knew some martial arts, and they were there just to maintain a presence so that women weren't getting raped and little old ladies weren't being killed and robbed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. If you permit chaos, then pretty soon, cities become unlivable. And Giuliani and Bernard Kerik, the chief of police commissioner, they had a plan, and they balanced the books, and they got the streets cleaned up, and they enforced the bylaws, and New York ran like a top for quite a while.
They did get those books. They actually got those books well maintained, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually had to raise taxes in some areas to get that done, but it was worth it in the end.
Well, property values just automatically went up. As soon as you stopped the chaos and people got the windows fixed and they got the streets cleaned up from the human feces and chewing gum and needles and all of that stuff, yeah, property values in a place like New York were going to skyrocket. They were going to go back to where they should have been. This is the problem with a place like New York. Eventually, it's a solidly blue city as long as it's been around, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they reach a point where they've suffered enough. They will let someone come in and do all the things that they resent Republicans for doing, but it does work. So, Giuliani got his 2-3 terms, however long he was mayor. I think he was mayor for quite a while. And eventually things get prosperous and they get comfortable and the money's rolling into the coffers again. And okay, well, we don't need you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then they went right back to what they were doing before. So it's all just coming back around again. I'm not happy to hear that murder rates have gone up in New York City, but when the police department...
Not just New York City's murder rates spiking in New York City as residents flee for suburbs. It's happening. Chicago is having a massive mass exodus south. Massive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was going to happen anyway because
Chicago's going bankrupt. They have 8-9 layers of government that they're on the hook for pensions. Yeah,
Illinois is in bad shape too. I mean, generally. So people were fleeing Illinois. It's like, no, you're not going to hang the can on me for this.
No,
me and my children and grandchildren are going to pay for your stupidity. We're free to leave and go live in another state, and the ones that could move did. And I don't blame them a bit. I wish there was somewhere in Canada we could go. I mean, theoretically, you could go to Alberta, but it's getting to be kind of economically moribund just this moment. So it may not be the place to go, and I prefer British Columbia. But I'm inclined to think like I've said, we're going to have internal exodus in Canada. We're going to have mass exile, internal exile, where people leave the built-up urban areas as they crumble. And they cash in while they still have some property value and go live somewhere cheaper. It happens in the States, and it's happened here, and it will continue to happen. Yeah, Axel, I wouldn't be surprised about that either. Yeah, Chicago. Chicago has been a hotbed of corruption going back to before the Civil War. Tammany Hall and Boss Tweed and all that. Yeah,
Tammany.
Al Capone. It's a gangster town. It's
Alfonso Capone.
Alfonso Capone, you bet. And he's kind of representative of that town. It's always had kind of a gritty blue collar aspect to it, and a rough place. It has its built up civil areas too, but it's it's always been just been a right place for corruption, and there are obviously a lot of people in higher levels of power that like it that way.
Yeah.
And don't want to change it.
So, one last question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is a Zero Hedge article that's up right now that was posted today. Over a third of Americans think civil war is likely. I don't think it is. Not right now.
I don't think so either. It's that comes and goes with the wind. Like I've said, the United States is an enormous place. It's a continent. You got 20-odd cities that are burning. Well, most of them weren't well run anyway. So you had a lot of built up anger, and BLM has just given everybody a touchstone to go out and go be idiots and know that the authorities will leave them alone.
Anthony in the comments. Thanks, Anthony. Oh, Anthony just sent me $5. Thanks, buddy. Have a good night, Anthony. Go study, buddy. If you have some time next week, maybe come up to Merritt. Sean Lieberman came up to visit me today. So, Anthony, if you want to come up and visit, you know where I'm at. Go ahead, Supreme.
Yeah. No, I don't think the U.S. will have civil war. Remember that if things really got out of hand, and I don't consider this to be really out of hand. I mean, even compared to America in 1968, I don't think this compares. Partly because the population is twice as large, of course. The built-up areas are a lot larger. The taking down of statues is fairly symbolic. Statues don't feel pain, and they can be easily replaced or set back up. So that's not an issue. It's just a nationwide tantrum. And I think that everybody, including Trump, is just letting it play out. The Democrats let it play out because they're hoping it will disrupt the country. Okay. And Trump's letting it play out because it's mostly blue cities that are being affected. And, every outrage that is committed against reasonable people is not making Democrat voters. So it's, there's no reason for him to impose hard martial law. He could. He has that authority right now anywhere in the U.S. to deploy the military. He could do it. But the National Guard hasn't even been deployed in most of these places. And it's the governors who aren't doing it. They're standing there pointing at Trump saying, you're a bad person, you need to go. Trump needs to go. Oh, my God, he's terrible. He hates black people, blah, 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 blah. And the reason is so that they can destroy their own cities to try to disrupt the election. It's the Tet Offensive 2.0. That's my opinion, and I maintain it. Civil war might happen, Holly, but it won't happen over Black Lives Matter. It will be. I don't even think a false flag. Look at the Vegas shooting 2-3 years ago. 500 people, right? 60 dead. Did civil war break out over that? Look at all of the laws. Look at all the activist judges. Look at all the blatant, in-your-face corruption. And the almost murderous indifference of the media to the attacks on what we would consider to be normal people for decades. Did the Second Amendment help at any point during any of that? No, it didn't. It didn't. They controlled the media. They controlled the levers of power in the judiciary. All right. You have civil war when you have somebody in Washington who wants to formally launch a war against the heartland of America. Not before.
I think we're at war with media. I think we're at war with censorship. I think we're at war with economy, housing, affordability. I think we're at different types of wars.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, the media is at war. And now you have, thanks to, ironically, thanks to social media, lots of people understand that the media is an arm of the Democratic Party and of the globalist agenda. And they don't hide it. Mm-hmm. And you point at them and say you're a bunch of globalists, and they just say, well, you're a bunch of racists, and try to change the subject in order to maintain mind control over the bloc that they do control, and that group is shrinking every day, and it actually wasn't a majority of people anyway. I mean, a third of eligible voters in America don't even show up to vote. Most people, it doesn't seem to make a difference to them. Or a sizable number of people, it doesn't make a difference to them who's in power. So either they have no faith whatsoever in their country, or they're there illegally, or their lives really aren't materially changed that much by whoever's in power,
Right.
which could actually be a good sign. That could mean that, the system is actually working pretty well for a lot of people.
Layla has a good comment. The elites have to set up people against each other. It's one group behind it.
That's your opinion, Layla. You may be right. But I'm inclined to think that there's never just one group. I don't think so. Democrats and Republicans are one. Yes, they are, and they're one against Donald Trump. Okay, so that indicates a third power involved here. Yeah, if you're not beholden to donors, you could say what you want. Now, yeah, Trump is probably the front man for a particular faction. But I don't think he made the decision to run all by himself, and I certainly don't think he's running the U.S. government all by himself. That's not possible. The U.S. government is enormous, right? And people are so shell-shocked that when something happens that seems to go against what he said, the first reaction is, "Oh my God, they got to him. Oh, he's sold out." And usually, just give him 7 days. Yes, you have the whole world at war, at least the world establishment at war against a particular dude and whatever faction backed him in his taking the White House. I don't think he's one of them. He may have been. I see lots of rhetorical statements about how it's, I have my opinion, you have yours, guys. We're going to find out, aren't we? We're going to find out. He may very well be just, the whole thing's a kabuki theater to a certain point. I wouldn't argue that. No, Layla, life isn't about Trump. That's true. But it's not about the Rockefellers either. Okay? I'm a Christian, so obviously I factor God into it. A lot of you don't, or you have your own opinions about that sort of thing. And that's fine. In the end, we're all going to find out, right? We're going to find out the truth. Your responsibility as an individual is to set your own house in order, your own body, soul, and mind in order. Okay? Stay out of the clutches of the debt machine.
Debt machine, yeah, it's a big one. Debt's big.
Right?
Debt's huge, man.
The wealth, the family destruction machine. Stay out of it. Stay out of it. If you've been hurt, if you've been abused, some of you on here said that you've been abused. Okay? Your responsibility is your own healing. That's a big enough crusade by itself. Okay, what's happening at the higher levels of power? Past a certain point, we're just virtue signaling here. Right? Is Trump going to save the world? No one's going to save the world. God has to save the world. Everybody here knows very well what the state of the average human being is. Right? There's nothing to save there. It is what it is. Right, you have to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Okay, you've got to look after yourself and your family and make them a priority, and then think of the wider world in terms of your own family, your own community. Okay, your own particular ethnic affiliation, if that's part of your life. I mean, I'm a Euro mutt. I don't really think I'm European anymore. And that could be said for just about anybody who's been in Canada for several generations, though, to be fair. You might have some cultural affinity with whatever homeland. I follow Q2. Tell us about the arrests at Gitmo. If there were arrests at Gitmo, we wouldn't know about them right away. Maybe all of this chaos going on, like I said, it's an election year. Right, and this
election
kind of
year is always bullcrap year. It means bullcrap. Is what it means.
Well, the bullcrap gets levered up. I mean, this year it's turning up. The heat has been turned up everywhere. Someone is spending an unbelievable amount of money to try to create all this chaos. It's obviously important to them. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, Jelly Bean.
Yeah. So, leave Q out of it. Leave, okay, Democrats and Republicans are all on the same side, whatever. Yeah, okay, fine. Someone really, really, really wants the White House bad this year, and they're willing to get people killed to do it publicly in America. That suggests to me this isn't just another 4-year election. Okay, I'll go there. And yeah, the goal is chaos. But what is the purpose of chaos? It's so the masters of chaos can create a new order. Well, what if they've lost control? If they've lost control, then the only thing chaos gives them is a chance. It doesn't mean they're in control anymore. And again, that's not about Trump. Trump wouldn't have got anywhere if there weren't a whole lot of pissed off people just looking for someone to speak for them. And you could say the same thing about Adolf Hitler. I mean, he didn't arrive out of a vacuum, and I'm not comparing Trump to Hitler. I mean, Hitler, I mean, he had the German army, and you had people that worshiped their military. You could just about say the same thing about America. The difference is America claims to worship their military. They don't treat their military very well, right? Because they still have, at least the old stock Americans, still have kind of an innate suspicion of standing armed forces going back to the founding of the Republic, right? So it's not the same animal at all, and it's a massive place. Right? Like America might eventually fragment into 2 or 3 pieces, but the whole idea of having elections is so that you can have a civil war every 2 to 4 years and replace the people controlling the levers of power. Right? And so the whole fight is about maintaining the control of the levers of power. That's where the dirty work comes in. Right? So if elections weren't important, they say, if voting mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. Well, who's going to stop you? Right. That's a rhetorical statement, Layla. Q is being operated from the he's operating from the Trump administration. I'm certain of that. The purpose of it, I think, is to create a counter narrative against the media complex. Whether it actually means that they're going to take down the deep state or whatever is irrelevant. It doesn't actually matter. Or save the world or whatever. It's to create an alternative narrative without media interference. So in that effect, it's a propaganda campaign. I'll say that, right? It's just it just depends on what side of the divide you're on, whether it's good guys or bad guys. I try to stay neutral about it. That's all. If you're absolutely addicted to our doom, then continue. I'm not. I'm actually fairly optimistic that the human race is a bit more resilient than that. As dumb as they are at times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because these people in the end aren't selling you anything that most normal people want. They're telling you it's progress.
It's like buying Hertz stock that's in negative territory.
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
It's like, who's going to buy this junk? There's people buying that junk because some people are buying the idea of it. But other people look at it and say, I'm going to take a step back from this.
Yeah. I want to address one more thing that Layla said, too, because it does stand out to me. You are correct. The entire world is trying every way they can to get off the U.S. dollar. Wouldn't that be a good thing? If the Federal Reserve suddenly lost its control over the levers of power in the entire world because of the collapse of the Federal Reserve or the unbacked fiat U.S. dollar, would that not be good news?
Of course, it's the petrodollar. Yeah. I don't think I've had faith in oil for many years, but the petrodollar, the petrodollar is starting, it's frailing, and with the oversupply of oil and glut that we have right now, the petrodollar is slowly dwindling in the wind right now because they have nothing else to peg it. They have nothing to peg on their currency but wars now and machine guns and military might. That's it.
Sure. Yeah, Layla, you're right. It's about being realistic and prepared. I have never said otherwise, have I? It doesn't matter what's happening. It doesn't matter if Q's real. It doesn't matter if Trump's legit or not. None of that matters. What are you doing personally, ladies and gentlemen, okay, to set yourself up? If chaos is coming, then I think this time around the chaos will bear the seeds of opportunity. But I don't think chaos is going to be widespread. I don't think it is. Most people are not angry to the point of revolution as long as they believe there's some kind of political solution, right? If there is no political solution, then the only solution at that point is gunpowder, right? And as much as we like to LARP about it, no, you don't want civil war. You don't want civil war.
I don't think we will have it though. I don't think it, no.
Yeah, nobody wants it. I mean, these things get imposed anyway, right? Someone creates some kind of outrage in a community that's already mad about something, and then they demand justice, right? You know, I mean, the U.S. Civil War is a perfect example. I don't think most people that fought in the Confederate Army were fighting so that a few, you know, rich dudes with plantations could keep their slaves. I don't think it had anything.
It was about joining the world banks and
right, but they didn't win. So guess who wrote the history about that?
The
right?
North.
The North, yeah. But at least they were smart enough to show some respect, right? And try to bring some reconciliation. That's all. And that's they're just trying to divide people to create chaos, because if they could get some kind of armed conflict going somewhere, then they might be able to direct it.
Yeah. All right, Supreme.
Anyway.
I'm falling asleep. I've been here 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's getting late, isn't it? Well, it's great to chat, buddy. And
we'll talk again. We usually talk during the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, everyone. God bless. Yeah, take care of yourselves. Turn off the TV and the computer. Get out in the sunshine when you get
it's going to be nice tomorrow here, so I'm going to go up for a drive, maybe go up to Kamloops with the family.
Time for a Sunday drive with that car.
Oh, I've been driving that car hard. Not hard, but just enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what it's a toy, and that's what toys are for, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You all stay out of trouble. You stay out of jail, okay? God bless. Enjoy your Sunday, okay? Cheer up. The world is full of people who are mostly good.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
A lot of them are getting rightly pissed off. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yeah, Father's Day. It's Father's Day in about half an hour.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, I had a chat with my boy today. He's gonna we're gonna Discord for a while tomorrow, so that'll be nice. Yeah. Hail, Gary. Yeah, guys. Don't be cynically optimistic. Okay, I understand that people might not be bright as a group, but they are definitely tough.
That's true.
They're definitely stubborn. And things like love and passion, right? Life is meaningless without them. Okay, but people have different loves and different passions, so there's always going to be gears grinding against each other and making some sparks. Right? So, practice a little forbearance, a little forgiveness, a little prayer, but definitely keep an eye on the things in your life, right? You act as if your own autonomous micro state, right? Your own individual Chazes, okay, your own personal revolution, and secede from a corrupt society that is going to collapse anyway. Right? Yeah.
All right.
Okay. It's all love, guys. God bless.
God bless you.
All right. Talk soon, Mike.
We'll talk soon. That is Supreme Cannon. Filling the airwaves with some discussion. And maybe next week, if Layla is around, we'll get her around. We'll get her on the show. And we go from there. And you know what time it is, guys. People of the night.
Gemini
Welcome to Mike in the Night.
Mike in the Night and the Gemini crew.
Let's just talk about the world. Give this page another curl.
'Cause you're here with us tonight. Everything's alright when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Giving the world light when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Sometimes
Things are just absurd.
So let's just
Talk about the world.
'Cause you're here with us tonight. Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. just talk about the world. Give this page another curl, 'cause you're here with us tonight.
Take care, everybody. And if you can't, please stay safe.